Well, there it goes. The damn, the damn, you do it. The Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome live on this Saturday morning. It is September 9th, 2023, and you have tuned into the 910th episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream, featuring yours truly, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Hello, Joyce.
I got something for you, baby. Oh.
That's always good to hear when your wife says, I got something for you, baby. All right, so let us begin the program.
You want your cone pictures?
Do you want, well, this or the jokes? Which would you rather?
I think you should have the cone picture while they're telling the joke.
All right, so I need to set the.
To look at.
Yeah, I need something to set this up, though.
And tell them we need to go to St. Paul's, so.
Right, but because I need a blessing and St. Paul's a bit. No, so after the show, Joyce and I are going to go to the annual, thrift flea market thingy at a local church. But before then, I look good here. I mean, this is a good shot. I should post this.
It's a good camera, yeah.
So Joyce and I have this kind of in joke. Look how yellow this is, right? This in joke about cones, because we went to yeah, it's just I gotta reset this a little bit.
Different color? Here.
It looks a little better now. Let's see how I look. Yeah, sorry, that's all right. Leave that. Joyce and I went to Norfolk, Virginia, about a month or so ago for it was a conference. Yeah, it was a conference.
Oh, yeah.
And getting there took an extra hour and a half because there was so much.
Oh, and then this is your.
Yeah. What? Getting there took so long because there was so much road construction everywhere. And it literally was a city of traffic cones. Yes. And you couldn't, we were joking about it with the Uber driver, the guy we were using. And it was just like, you go a block and then there'd be more traffic cones. And more, even when there was no work going on. Even when they were done for the day or.
It was the weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no construction. Like, I could see if it was like, Monday at 8 a.m. Oh, did you plug in Wacky Wavy?
I did.
Does it work?
All things, I haven't tried it yet.
We're
going to try it on the air.
In,
yeah. But, so these pictures were not from Norfolk, but we were reminded of our delightful trip to Virginia because for some reason, this week we were in a parking lot. We knew why we were in the parking lot.
No, you could say it's John Hopkins,
We were in the parking lot of this giant health medical office complex place, locally, somewhat, here in northern Maryland, John Hopkins. And so...
But there's no reason, this parking lot, it would be different if, there was, they were doing construction, but it was, half a block
away.
Yeah,
there were construction workers...
You can understand if you pull in the parking lot and, the a local one, they're building a store, so they closed off one of the entrances.
Sure.
So that you get, okay, makes sense. They're building, they don't want people going through the construction site. But it's different if you have, this is a thing.
Well, let me explain what we saw.
They used to do it in New York when people wanted to save parking, in the Bronx. And,
yeah, in fact, we talked about this last time. Last week on Greeley Crimes and Old Times when someone moved a garbage can in front of a car.
It was an omen.
Yeah, so the guy, it was assumedly because that garbage can was saving the space in front of where this other guy was parked. And the guy said, if you move my garbage can, there will be trouble. Yeah. The guy called the cops. But the other guy, the guy was parked behind the garbage can. But so we're in this big parking lot with lots of cars. And then across in a totally separate parking lot for the same, medical complex. And a totally separate lot. Okay, there's a crew with traffic cones and they're working and doing stuff and talking with each other. But I'm just trying to find a space in this lot. And there's a few.
Yeah. The thing is, I always say to you, we can park further away because we're able to walk. There are people who might have difficulty, so not necessarily, have a sticker for special parking, but there may be people who need to get to a medical appointment or struggling. So I don't feel if we don't need to park close, we shouldn't.
Yeah. Joyce likes to park, not in another town, but a bit further away because thank God.
In the back, in the back of the lot.
Yeah. If I just had hip surgery, I would want to park, as close as possible to the front door.
We saw that person in the wheelchair looked like they were stoned out of their Ford. You know, the one building we never go to, I don't know what happens in there. I think it's.
Well, I hope we never do.
No, but I don't know. It might be just the offices. But we park near the building where there's less traffic, so I bet that's offices. It's probably like just.
Fine. Oh, maybe. Or a whole different, there are certain things that we go there for.
Yeah.
And then there's another building where, that could be oncology.
Yeah, we always pass the eye one where people come out with the iPad.
Well, we can tell that story too. Well, all right, but let's get to the.
I don't know that story.
Yesterday. The most serendipitous accident we have ever had. All right, I'll tell it in a second. Remind me, but
Eye patch?
the optometry clinic.
Oh yes. Oh, I thought we saw someone come out with eye surgery.
No,
okay.
God.
That's
God.
what you're telling me. I was like, eye surgery? I'm like, I don't think I would have remembered if you did eye surgery.
Yeah, I hope you would have remembered if eye surgery. No, but let's tell that's for the cute.
I may not remember my eye surgery, but thank God my memory's good. I
Right.
brought you the jokes too. I don't know where.
Well, you know the classic joke of I've got the.
Okay.
The classic joke of the guy
goes to the doctor.
Yeah, you tell it because my brain isn't working yet.
So the guy goes to the doctor,
Yeah.
and the doctor says, "I have a few bad things to tell you. You know, you don't have cancer, but I believe you have a cognitive impairment like Alzheimer's disease." And then the guy says, "Thank God I don't have cancer."
That was you almost had it there, but the doctor guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Thank you for reminding me how it goes."
I don't know.
I was like,
it goes.
"Oh, I've got some bad news and also some other bad news, but first of all, you have 4th stage prostate cancer."
Oh.
And the guy says, "Oh God, that's what else?" And the guy says, "Well, you also have really heavy duty Alzheimer's at this point." Guy goes home, and the wife asks him, "So how did you do with the doctor?" And he says, "Well, at least I don't have cancer." It's something I didn't even tell that right.
Know
But,
it, yeah. Tell some from the joke.
But hold on, we haven't explained the cone thing yet.
Oh, and the eye thing you wanted to.
Yeah, I think, but the cone thing was,
Oh, she was wrapped around that.
Oh, I was wondering what the tube is for. Yeah.
Look, a herstory of the girl. Will you read her herstory?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read it.
I will do all things a good time. And we're having a good time here.
Tulip. Tulip the tube gal.
Nobody knows what you're talking about until we explain this. So let me finish up the cone thing. Then we have tube gal. Then we'll have the eye thing. Then we'll have tube gal. Then I'll have my little story about this index card.
You also have a.
Oh, and the book to read about tube gal. We have an exciting show planned for you here on Dave's Gone By. Not to mention a special guest today. We'll be talking to Rabbi Saul Sullivan. We'll let you know in a minute. But just to finish up the cone story, what freaked Joyce and me out, since we already have this little in-joke with cones from our trip to Virginia, is I'm parking in the big lot at Johns Hopkins between 2 of the pavilions. And so we're just looking for a spot, and there's a few, but we want to be far away but also easy to pull out of. And
so we can go back to turn on the highway, yeah.
And you know how I like to pull out early. So and then apropos of literally nothing, one of the parking spaces in the lot has this big orange cone on
and
it.
And there's no dent. Like sometimes I've seen people do it where like the asphalt chips or there's like a pothole.
Yeah, it's like warning, your tire will.
Like you're gonna go in a pothole or.
But it was incongruous because there's no cones around, no warnings, no people, no.
And nobody parked near it, even like spaces around it. People like,
But it was literally as if someone randomly,
Maybe they had more cones, and by the time we got there, people had moved those cones.
I was wondering about that.
Yes.
I didn't know what to think. Or if what I told you, and I don't know if this is true, the construction workers maybe were saving that spot to park later.
You can't do that. I mean, you can't do that.
Well, I guess you can. I mean, they're construction workers. It wasn't like a doctor's parking spot.
And they probably got there, like the construction people probably got there like 4, 5, 6 a.m. Before anybody was there, so they could have put cones anywhere.
Right. But
they do have the cones by the Chinese restaurant. Like, not this, no, they have parking reserved for that.
That's different, for Gesundheit. For Joey Chews, which is over there. Gesundheit. But it was just so incongruous, like not a row of cones, because of that being saved, not construction work being done on the road.
And it wasn't striped. The other ones had
Yeah.
that stripe around
It was just
them.
like, it was just aliens had
Random.
put down a random orange cone on one little parking spot. And of course, that's a parking spot I really, really wanted.
And there's probably thousands of parking spots in that lot. Would you say hundreds?
Hundreds, absolutely hundreds. And then there's, Gesundheit. There's another lot even behind one of the pavilions.
There's like 5. There's probably like 6, 7 lots. Someone showed me a walking thing, or there's a walking tour around that campus, like a nature walk we should do.
Yes. Well, one of the things we like, I guess we can talk about going to Johns Hopkins, is that they have this little oasis-y pond pool that I always go to, even if we're in a rush, even if we're like, David, I have to go to the bathroom. No, we're going to see the pond pool because I want to look at the tadpoles. Even if you don't ever have to go to Johns Hopkins for any kind of whatever, exams, it's worth a visit. So you can go to this little place where they have tables and a pond that they have water going into. And in it, they have little fishies that are turning into tadpoles, and also blumpusy little tadpoles.
You thought you saw a turtle?
One time I thought I saw a turtle, but I don't. Or no, one time I also thought I saw a frog, and it just went bloop, and then back in the water. It was nothing. You never see full-grown frogs.
I saw a dead frog there, but then it was scraped away. So I don't know. Maybe I was hallucinating. Or
plucked by a bird off the ground or something.
Oh yeah, but it was kind of crispy.
Crunchy frog.
Special.
A la pêche.
Special.
But I love this pond, and in the morning, this is the second time someone has approached me. I'm sitting at this table with my computer on, trying to work, trying to grade papers and stuff. And for a second, like this nice lady I've never met, saying, "Isn't this the most lovely place? You've got the best spot." And I was like, "Yes, it's so wonderful." Up until about.
Did she touch you?
Yeah, of course she did.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Is that what you do?
You go to Johns Hopkins for medical stuff. I go there to get my dick rubbed.
Yeah. No. God, David. That's nice though.
Yeah, it is nice to have she was old, but the thing is, but I told her it is the most beautiful spot here, until the sun comes up overhead, and then it becomes the hottest place.
There's a nature walk we have to do.
We gotta do that.
Yeah.
Gotta do that. So
and they give the map. I'll take a picture of it, or we could probably.
We gotta do it. We have to. Yeah.
Can I look it up on phone? I'm gonna find the map.
Oh, this is. Oh, what? Yeah, your phone's here. Good. So.
Do you have a quiz?
No quiz today.
Okay.
But we do have a guest. We do have a guest coming at 10 o'clock. Guest is at 10 o'clock.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I know who's gonna. I know who's gonna do the interview. I got it.
Right. Got it. So, but the other Johns Hopkins story is.
Oh Jesus.
No. This is absolutely. You want to talk about serendipity?
But can I tell you the weirdest part?
What? Yeah.
Going down the elevator, I looked and I was like, "Oh, the eyeglass place is in this building," and then I went out and they.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what happened. So Joyce was there for a completely different reason in that building, and we always, generally make plans after she's done to meet and go have food because there's an expensive but very good dinery restaurant. In that area. So, and they make good vegetarian stuff, and they make a very nice brisket sandwich for me.
The first time I went there, I had gone by Uber myself, and I told the guy, I said, my spouse really likes, meaty sandwiches, and he recommended that.
Yeah.
And that's what I brought you the first
time. I think the first time was pastrami they were doing, and they're not doing that. So yesterday was brisket.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know the difference.
But the brisket was very good.
I'm looking at the map, David. That's what I'm doing.
So she's there, and I'm just about to leave the frog pond and go order the food, because it takes about 15, 20 minutes. And then, so when she's done, we can both go and bring the food outside or bring it home and eat. And I see her walking out the door of one of the pavilions. So I'm looking, down, a few hundred feet away. I wave, she waved. And then she disappears. Right? She's walked out the door. I'm seeing her, and then I don't see her. And I'm like, what the hell? And then when she pops back up again, I know something's wrong. And then, instead of coming to me,
I'm waving.
She's waving for me to come to her. I'm like, no, the restaurant is this way. She's like, oh, come. So I go over, and she had Yeah, I'm sure it was when you're pulling off your mask because it's right
Yeah,
when
probably. I don't know.
So the mask goes off and the glasses go flying, and the glasses just go right on the ground, and the not the lens, thank goodness, but the
Yes.
what the frame part of the frame the
The
what do they call these?
the
The
arm,
rims,
the arm.
the arms of the glasses. One of them just snaps right off,
God,
hits the ground,
Yeah.
and is like because this is a heavy. If you wear you need glasses, and you can't really mess around.
Yeah, some people have light vision. I need them.
Yeah. And Joyce also has a day where she has to go to school. She's got a grade. You're meeting
Yeah,
a couple.
yeah.
I don't know if you had any meetings yesterday, but
Yeah, you're right.
So she's got to be in person, and now she's going to be like, either bat blind
Yeah.
or got to go home get like a spare older pair that don't have the same corrective vision. And but the most beautiful, totally ridiculous, and yet, go figure, God was on her side yesterday. And she doesn't even believe in God. But coming out of the building, and she's, my glasses broke. And you were the one who said, wait a minute, the glass place
is
in this building up 2 floors.
Yeah.
So
the good thing was it wasn't 5 p.m.
Yeah, it wasn't 5 p.m. It wasn't the weekend. It wasn't any. It was like middle of the morning.
It wasn't Labor Day.
Yeah, no.
Which is my usual holiday stuff.
Right. You get sick on Labor. You have to call the company that sent you the wrong bill, and it's Friday at 5:47. Right? No.
Isn't it ironic?
It's not ironic. This was serendipitous. This is the absolute. If you're gonna have an accident, I'm thinking not a physical accident, but something like that's gonna happen. It's like, we're gonna go upstairs to the people who can fix this in 2 minutes, which is exactly what she went upstairs, handed this lovely woman at the desk the glasses, the broken hinge thing, and the woman said, well, I guess she couldn't put that one back on, but we have another one.
Yeah, this is like a loaner, like a car. Yeah. And then they're going to order. They told me, though, they called it because they discontinued these frames. It'll be like maybe 2 weeks instead of a couple days. But I'm like, they'll get it,
And the amazing thing is, yes, it's not exactly the same.
But
nobody can tell.
I know.
It is literally like, pair of glasses.
It might be the style,
Yeah. And so, I mean, somebody was looking out for us yesterday.
Maybe the cone was the omen.
Maybe. The cone was giving us good spirits, so that if we were going to drop your, we were going to have that kind of incident, it wouldn't kill our day. It would just be like, just go upstairs. It's going to take about 5-10 minutes for this to resolve temporarily in a very perfectly fine way.
Yeah.
In a way that not like, we're going to rubber band these around your head. Or give you a spare pair that's kind of like readers, and it'll mess up your eyes for the weekend, but at least you can see. Versus, this will work. This will work just fine until we get to a spare, a new pair that's under warranty. Thank you very much. So life is good, and on a certain basic level, thank God, life is good.
And we got a new friend. Do you want to introduce your new friend? Tulip.
Her name. Mm-hmm. Is this the color of tulips? Is more violet. I guess it is.
I don't know. What am I like? Bob Vila? I don't know.
So that many weeks ago.
Is she taller than the other one?
Problem is, in order for them to both go together, we need to plug in things, which we're not going to buy another one, but or maybe we will.
We will.
Yeah.
I got to do a Target order, so.
We can do that. We can get more tea, and we can get another one of these.
Yeah.
Which
I think might have been an Amazon, but we could.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, you're right. So this allows this to happen, and Joyce knows I love inflatable wavy guy.
You love things. The absurd,
Yeah, well, that too. So we have had for many months the inflatable wacky tube guy who's red, and he is like those things that you see in front of auto salespeople and car washes.
He's the first. He's the patriarch of the family.
But I felt bad for him because he's lonely, and he's found a girl.
Everything else we have has two, right?
So now we have the inflatable tube gal, a herstory, because we are so woke when buying our gifts from people.
Because it's not history, it's herstory.
History. I get the pun.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Oh boy, old Dave needs his glasses. Wacky waving inflatable tube guys. We've seen them everywhere.
Yes.
gyrating wildly and beckoning you into cell phone stores, job fairs, mattress warehouses, definitely those,
Yes.
and more. These wacky dudes bring joy everywhere they wave.
Ha 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 ha.
And are beloved the world over, and for good reason.
Yes.
They are basically happiness incarnate.
Okay.
The guys that get to write these, or women that get to, just fabulous. However, a recent discovery has shocked keen fans of these endlessly undulating shoots. I should have gotten this job writing these. Oh, this is among the other things that we've spent good money on is an incredible screaming goat and the air horn. Well, oh wait, it didn't even show on camera yet. There it is. The air horn.
I don't have that ready.
Yeah. Hours of fun. Scientists studying the world-famous wacky waving inflatable tube guy have compiled new evidence that proves it's not just an army of tube guys thrashing around in front of strip malls, but also tube gals.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what they mean by. I mean, there's a pun here, but it can go so many ways.
Yes.
They were blown away.
Oh Lord.
Because okay, I get it, but there's another anyway.
Yes.
This new discovery has opened our eyes to a whole new perspective
Oh, good.
on tube people.
Yes.
Would you like to read more? Would you like to read the?
I think I'll show you the page I want you to read.
Oh, please, yes.
Because I want to find her name. That's the.
Oh, it said it was tulip.
Yeah,
Tulip.
just read this one and stop here.
Yeah.
And then show. That's enough for today. You can't give the people too much,
I
David.
know.
You know.
They get jaded.
They need to want more. So.
We are excited to introduce here for the first time ever, Tulip, the wacky
I would
waving.
name her Violet because you're
Sure,
right.
yeah.
Tulip.
Unless
I guess two is for tube, like tube.
tube lip,
You know,
or you
they're
need
trying
tulips to blow it up with.
Yeah.
Move over, tube dudes. There's a new tube in town.
Okay, I'll do it. Ready? Get ready.
Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to inflate Tulip, the wacky inflatable tube gal.
Whoa, she's way more.
Yeah, she got it. She got it going
Does
on.
she have a necklace on? I can't see.
Listen, I gotta stop her hold on. I can't stop her. Whoa. Man, she's fun on a Saturday night. There she is.
Look at the necklace.
She does have a necklace. Look at that
She has
pearls.
eyelashes. She's beautiful, David.
Yeah. And actually, if she's blowing, she'll probably get a pearl necklace from certain
She's
dudes.
beautiful.
Look at that. Look at that. And she's bright-eyed. Oh, there she goes. Yeah.
Lower.
You're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebook podcast here program here on the screen.
My tries, honey.
I know. She's cool though. She's pretty.
She's very elegant with
yeah.
the pearls. She's like the Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of person.
That's right.
She could
Of course, Breakfast at Tiffany's girl was a whore, but we won't get into that.
She could be in a jewelry store, or she could be in a, she could be in like a fancy place, like Nordstrom's.
Which are, not. I know we talk about John Hopkins and stuff like that, but when I die.
Yes, I'm not making you a two-person.
No. But when for my funeral, if we have a funeral or something like
I'll
that,
be dead
like
first.
in front of Beth, you won't. Beth,
Okay.
like Schmoolson,
Yes.
or whatever temple that my service is in. When the mourners are coming in,
Yeah.
can you have a wacky inflatable
Sure.
I mean, like the real, like
With the yarmulke.
yes.
With the yarmulke and a little piece of like his little tube torn.
Wacky, like a little backpack. Wacky inflatable Jew dude.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be unbelievable. But instead of going like wavy, it was just bobbing back and forth. There's a yay
That's what she did. I guess they must have them. I'm sure they have a.
I'm sure they
What is it
don't.
called? Tube. What's the name?
This is wacky inflatable tube,
Okay.
wacky waving. Wacky waving.
What kind of wacky waving tube things do you have? Wacky. They have the tube guy.
Yeah. But it would be fantastic if you had like the fringe.
Man.
Imagine this. Yarmulke, you could just put it like a. Well, I think it needs to have the head open so that the wind can blow. So that's a problem. But Tala's fringe would be fabulous.
Oh, look at this custom. Some people call them air dancers.
Oh, I like that.
You could get a custom one. Look.
Oh. How are those custom?
No,
They're
this
just
one's
blue and red.
custom. You get a custom.
Yeah. Well, I could get accustomed to this too. Because I like them.
They're called air dancers too.
I like that.
What's the difference between an air dancer and a wacky tube guy?
Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man,
Yeah.
which is kind of the ultimate name for it, I believe. Yes. Wacky or tube gal.
No, that's the, what's her name? Tulip.
Tu-
I keep wanting to
Tulip
call her
is
Violet,
Violet,
but you
yeah.
said.
Well, because I was
So
I looked
call
at
her
the
Violet Tublet. What's
Violet. Well,
no, Violet.
well, it's Tulip.
Tulip.
Is her name.
So Tulip Violet, or we could just Violet could be her nickname.
Violet can be bi, and because she violently moves.
Yeah, she
But
does.
it's Tulip, I guess.
She has much better moves than you want to compare.
Hey, that's not fair.
Where's the other one?
Yeah. Okay, he's in there. He's in there on a shelf. We have our wacky inflatable tube guy. It's not like we traded him in for bi. He's on the third shelf.
But look, he's much like tinier.
Yeah, something you don't have to judge men by the length of their tubes, hon.
Just
Certainly
like,
didn't judge
put
me
them
that way.
side by side just to see, like, don't turn. Just,
Da, 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 da.
oh, they're the same.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a necklace. Does
Well,
he have eyelashes? I want to see when.
Oh, this is her.
Yeah.
He's got.
Plug him in, and let's
All right,
see.
all right. I've got to unplug her. Sorry. Now I call her Violet. Sorry, Tulip. All right. Let's see if Wacky Inflatable Tube guy still have. Hey, Wacky. What? I got a friend for you. What do you mean, kind of friend? No, I mean like a girl type friend. What does she look like?
You might have to switch it the other way then.
Yeah.
See, but he's pretty. Like he doesn't have the same.
Yeah, he kind of goes up to
down.
down.
No, look at him. He's doing better now. Maybe the competition.
Well, yeah. Or
he's excited. Yeah. Let's see. I want to.
It's like a male of the species sees a female. He's going to do more to impress her. You know. Anyway, look what I can do.
Can we get something that we can plug them both in at once?
Well, we would have to. Oh. Well, no, it would have to be a second or something with two inserts, which a lot of women are, but if you know what I'm saying, I think you don't.
You're gonna get hurt bad. Someone's not going to the St. Paul's flea market.
No!
Call them.
I want to go to flea marketplace in local church that will have food, baked goods. They will have baked goods.
Of course they will. Baked goods are the staple of any flea market, craft fair. Getting someone up at 3 a.m. to cook baked goods, getting some women to make baked goods, that's the jam.
I'm getting me some like $4 brownie that should really be $1.50. But I'm not
next
gonna.
weekend is going to be the one we go to, the Methodist one.
Yeah. And meanwhile, all this time, Joyce and I have been scrupulously avoiding the state fair. Yeah. We live 1.5 miles from the State Fair of Maryland, which is over at a local fairgrounds. Because not really our thing, you know. B, the weather has been torturous. Be like big storms last night to heat all week. Well, show me.
You did, right?
Yeah, we did that all. You know, but that's today.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Today, and you know, Maryland has been great. There are times I do miss Colorado. There are times I even miss Greeley, Colorado. And I miss Greeley, Colorado most of all because today is Potato Day.
And it's a very sad day.
Well, for 2 reasons for us. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. Actually, we should, and then we'll get to Greeley Farms all times. But this is
What's the second reason?
Well, we lost. I guess we'll get into it. Yeah. Well, I'm assuming the reason is because. Yeah. But we lost 2 people this week in Daverhood. Wow. Way to bring the energy down. That's a good picture of me.
Why don't you do the put on Violet when you're saying it? Maybe you'll think the.
No, not really. What you can do is play a little bit of a little light drum, because one of the people we lost this week was a musician, our friend of the day. It's funny, both of these people who died on the same day this week, they died on Wednesday, were both guests on the show in 2018, and they were both already of advanced age. Both of them were, one was in his 70s and one was in his 80s, but we lost, first of all, Richard Davis, the musician, the bass player, was 93.
Oh, great.
So he was already in his late 80s when he appeared on this show.
Wow.
And the only unfortunate part is we had not quite yet gone to video. So it's still an
really?
audio
You still
only.
have the audio.
Yeah.
I saw it on the.
Yeah.
I can't get the. Let me see if I can do the Facebook. Hold on.
Oh, please, yeah.
I don't know if I can get your Facebook. I don't think so.
But
Because I'm on a different account here.
Richard Davis, a kind of major figure in both jazz and to some extent pop and rock, certainly in the 60s and 70s, but has been teaching for many, many years, all the way up through his 80s. And Richard Davis, one of the reasons because I'm not into jazz, and I tried listening to one of his jazz albums, it's not my thing, but his work, and I was able to ask him about this in his interview on the show, and was able to bring this up and say how exceptional it was. Davis is the guy who plays bass on Van Morrison's Astral Weeks.
Wow.
Not only one of really the top 5 greatest albums, maybe in the top 3 ever in the rock era, but also in terms of bass playing, and bass playing a significant part of the sound. It is not just in the background, keep it boom, 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 boom. No. Creating part of the sonic landscape that is Astral Weeks and makes it so extraordinary.
Wow.
As a work of enjoyable entertainment art is Richard Davis's bass. I mean, there's a street named after him somewhere in, an honorary kind of a thing in New York. Or maybe something bad. I need to look up my old notes. Or actually, you can listen to the interview with Richard Davis that we did a few years back just by going on our Facebook page. I reposted it just by going to davesgoneby.com. DAVESGONEBY.com. Just look up Davis.
On Facebook. I don't know. I'm not a friend on this.
You're not? Oh, I can't. No,
account.
because it's your work thing.
Yeah, but what would I do, Dave? How would I look it up?
It should just be Dave's Gone By.
Okay.
Really, should.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be able to access all the content on it. Because I can actually open it up and play a little bit of the Davis interview I probably should.
Yeah, but people can find it.
Yeah, you can find it after the show's over.
No, I'm not
If I had more time in my week, I probably would have gone in, said, I want to play these 2 minutes on the show today to remember Richard Davis. And I would have done that as well with video of the other person that we lost this week in the Daverhood. Also was on our show going back in March. I'm sorry, actually I think it might have been February or something like that of 2018, when, for weeks now I have been complaining, as I tend to do, in a comical way, but also being like, on that Jimmy Tingle. Yeah. So,
that's a great picture.
Yeah. Well, he was running for the. Just to let you know, at 10 o'clock we have comedian Jimmy Tingle coming out. He ran for lieutenant governor.
Wow.
At one point.
Yeah,
And he's also a Harvard grad. He's been a comedian for many, many years. He's also does a lot in terms of nonprofits. So we got a lot to talk about, Rabbi Will, with comedian Jimmy Tingle, who's coming on in less than half an hour. So there's Mike. So.
Oh, such a lovely man.
So you know that I've been complaining over weeks and weeks and weeks now, like what the hell's going on at the Greeley Tribune, the newspaper from where Joyce and I used to live in Greeley, Colorado, because 2 of the columns that they had in there for years, regularly, every week.
You could pull the pictures up of what you need to show. Like, don't go in there, but you could show people.
Thank you much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm glad that he was on video.
Me too.
I'm glad Mike was on video.
Yeah. I wish Richard Davis. I mean, that's a great picture of Richard Davis.
Mike was very excited to come because he was, connected.
Well, he's a Greeley guy. He loved UNC.
Yeah.
So.
It was lovely to see him. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got him on video. I'm glad, and he was a progenitor of your segment.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. We had this one person from because I always had a grudge against the Greeley Tribune because I met the editor or publisher at one point, Randy Bangert.
Like once a week or twice a week or something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what happened was, I always had this grudge because I went in expecting, give me some job. I'll work at the newspaper. I always wanted to work again in a newspaper. And they didn't give me a job. And the guy who didn't hire me ended up dying of cancer. So, next time, give old Dave a job. And then the next guy came in and met with him, had coffee with him, still still nothing, whatever. But the paper itself had two columns. One, and I say this every week, one called Greeley Cop Log, about phone calls that come into the local police department that are from people reporting ridiculous
Who
things.
does that? Who does that?
Morgan
No,
McKenzie
but
doesn't
who
know.
originated that
I
one?
think it was Mike.
Oh, I bet you.
I think it was
I
Mike
bet you.
Peters
It's
who
his-
originated that.
It's his sensibility.
Yeah. Because the idea was, yeah, these are public record phone calls.
But they're not
yeah.
horrific crimes.
No, they're and they choose
It's
the
like,
ones
you
that
know,
are
there's
ridiculous.
a sheep in my Volkswagen, you know, or like,
Yeah, I saw a bull riding down the highway
Yeah,
in
or
a,
it's
in a
like,
car.
you know,
yeah.
a squirrel gave me side eye in the yard. Yeah,
People
you
have
know.
people have called
Yeah.
because they're worried about a
Or
squirrel
they
in the
want to
yard.
speak to a supervisor, but
Mm.
not this one, not you.
So it's a wonderful column, and I thank very much Morgan McKenzie for keeping that going. Mike Peters was also responsible for he did a column in the Trib called The Gnarly Trombone,
Oh yeah.
which is like how people misheard Greeley Tribune.
No,
Some
how
people-
they misread it because
Oh.
the way it was written,
yeah.
whoever wrote the
Oh.
name of the paper, when they read the handwriting, it looked like that.
Gnarly Trombone instead of
Yeah.
Greeley Tribune.
Yes.
So his column was called that. It was kind of like an Art Linkletter or a
It was very funny,
Art
yeah.
Bookwaldy.
And you said his daughter wrote like a nice
Well,
tribute to him when he was alive. Yeah.
yeah, a few weeks ago. Because
Yeah.
what happened was his column was called 100 Years Ago.
Oh,
He
yeah,
did Gnarly Trombone, and he also did a column called 100 Years Ago, where he would go through the newspapers
Oh, God, yeah.
of Greeley, Colorado,
Yeah.
from 1923, 100 years ago, and pluck out things that were nostalgic, funny, and amusing and stuff.
Yeah.
And those two columns gave us the material for our weekly segment, Greeley Crimes and Old Times, that we've been doing for 7 or 8, 9 years
my
now.
God, yeah.
I'm very proud of that. And we had Mike
Yeah,
Peters
show the picture.
on the show. We had Mike Peters on the show back in 2018. But I started bitching recently. Here he is. Well, here he is with me. Okay. There's Mike Peters.
And that's at
in the blue.
the basement of the
Well, that's where
radio.
UNC
Yeah.
Radio was, the station of the
Yeah.
University of Northern Colorado, where I was I was programming director, such as it was for a couple of years. But suddenly the column stopped. Now there were times that Mike would, like any journalist, would take a vacation for 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and a column would not post
That's
for a
normal.
week or two.
People
Yeah.
need a break, right?
But then there was this long period last year, I'm sure you remember, when we couldn't get any cop
There
logs.
was the famine.
And it was, what the hell happened? We're doing this every week. We need this material to do this segment on the program. And I wrote to them, and Morgan, who does cop log, was saying, yeah, there's this issue between our being able to get the information from the police department, code it properly, strip it up, and do that. Something happened, but we're going to bring it back, we promise. And she said it would come back in a couple of weeks. It took a couple of months, but it did. And it's in there every week, and we're thrilled. But then, as soon as we were back on an even keel, cop log stopped. 100 years ago,
Yeah.
stopped. And I'm like, oh, come on. And after all this annoyance and crackling and we finally got cop log back. Now you're taking a vacation or something's a problem with 100 years ago.
Mm-mm.
So, and I let it go for about 3-4 weeks, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not just a big, what's going on here? So I wrote to Mike Peters, I didn't hear back. And I wrote to Morgan, and she usually writes back, she didn't get back to me. And then about 2.5, 3 months in, there was a column of the Gnarly Trombone in the Greeley Tribune, written by Mike Peters' daughter, or his 2 daughters, I think, combined, saying what a great dad he was. It was right around the time of Father's Day. And they said, well, yeah, he's on hiatus. He's taking a break now from his duties at the newspaper, but not saying anything really more about that. So saying, not saying he's never going to write again, not saying anything was going on, just like in this particular time, because I figured, oh, is he writing another book? Because the guy had a couple of books out. And finally, about 5 months since the column stopped, it was published yesterday that Mike Peters passed away at the age of 79. It didn't, no reason, at this point, although I imagine he had been ill or was diagnosed with something a couple of months ago, and that was
Do you think that the daughter knew and that's why she wrote it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think they had the idea that they weren't going to say in the newspaper, Dad is very ill, he's on his way out.
He was so lovely. I just remember being such a nice man.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and he was in such great shape. First of all, he was only in his early to mid-70s when we met him. Yeah. And it was 5 years ago.
I forget what he talked about. I know he talked a lot about the book, and I was interested in that, so I did. That was like my most vivid memory, but I'm sure he discussed many things. Yeah, no, we had a great time. His conversation is also posted or reposted on Facebook. It's about an hour long, but it's very fun, and it's video. It's not just audio. You can see him in the studio. You should have tagged the trib.
I wrote to Morgan to tell her that we had this. I was going to share it to Mike Peters' Facebook, but actually he wasn't a Facebook friend. I should have tried to friend him or something, because then I could just share the link directly to his page. Yeah, so it goes.
Or if the trip has a Facebook page.
I wonder,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll ask and see.
Because the Trib channel has a paywall, but,
Does the Greeley Tribune have a Facebook page? Does the Greeley Tribune in Colorado have a Facebook page?
According to Facebook, Greeley Tribune, Greeley CO.
Yep.
Oh, very good. Greeley, Colorado.
I can't do it because it's not mine, but they do have a.
Remind me after the show.
I don't know if you could post to it though. It just looks like them posting, but you could probably tag them.
Yeah, I should do a hashtag of Greeley of our show, like hashtag Dave's Gone By, and then or the other way around. I'm 59. I don't follow these things, but I just remember him being a very sweet, personable guy, a wry sense of humor.
You could do so.
Yeah.
I'm just looking, David, to tell you. So, you could do a review, and in the review, put the link.
Oh, post it. Yeah. Sure. I mean, the review could just be.
David, honestly, a lot of people knew Mike Peters.
Oh yeah, and in the obituary in the Tribune that they did for him, all these people are saying, he reported on the police, which is a heavy gig. And yet the police respected him, the captains respected him. They knew he would give them a fair shake. And in his retirement, because he's been retired for years, and just wrote the columns for fun, he, every week he'd meet with like former cops and former, cop chiefs.
He was just a sweet man, a lovely man, lovely. And he wrote books. I think he was doing some background research on another book. Like, he was just really such a lovely.
It's a loss. Now. That all being said, it would be nice if someone with him gone picked up.
I don't think it's
100 years ago. I think people miss it. I think it was a sweet column.
I think the readership liked it. But I don't know if someone else will do it.
Well, that's all. In modern newspapering, quote, the readers liked it. If you get eyeballs,
but you got to get somebody to do it too. Right? It has to be part of someone's job description. So.
Well, Morgan.
Are you listening? They could get an intern, right?
Or Dan England, go.
Get an intern.
Yeah.
Have an intern do it. Somebody get a historian, like a student intern who's studying history.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
Or do it in collaboration with the history museum there.
Oh, like the Greeley History Museum, for which I am the unofficial Potato Day spokesperson.
Yes. No, you're for Centennial Village. That's different. The History Museum is downtown. You're for Centennial Village Potato Day, please.
Sorry, you're right.
Do not offend the History Museum spokesperson.
All right.
There might be somebody dressed as, I don't know, Mr. Greeley,
Mr. Greeley, wow.
And get very angry that you now co-opted there.
Oh, man.
You're the wrong man. That's not your mascot.
So here's the deal. Let's see. So we talked about Mike Peters, and our condolences.
Well, he was such a lovely man.
And we've also talked about losing Richard Davis. It was otherwise a pretty quiet week. I mean, at this point in the semester, and one of the reasons I may not do even a show every week, is we're just going to get overloaded with work teaching. And otherwise, our life is shopping and eating and sleeping. There's no stories to tell, I don't think, from this week.
Stories.
Like what?
We had the comb story.
Yeah.
And the Tube Gal story.
The Tube Gal is not really a story. It's an item we bought at Kohl's or not Kohl's, which is
you tell people
Marshall's.
what you're going to eat tonight.
Well,
Tonight or tomorrow? What's the
this
big
is a word
change
to
in your
the.
life?
This is important. We'll do Greeley Crimes and Old Times
alert,
after
alert,
the guest.
alert.
This is
Wait, you have to be mindful. The guy's coming at 10.
in 15 minutes. I got yeah.
Do you want to start really quick?
No, I'm saying I just said we're gonna hold Greeley
till after the
thing because before then I think what we have to still do our brand new segment Bunion Watch.
Do you have your little thing?
Oh, I do. Oh, it's not the same one as last week. I've changed it. Well, let me. But no.
Okay,
one thing at a time.
Okay.
Now, what did we just bring up? What were we just going to talk about?
What? Oh, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. You want to hold it?
We're going to hold that. But before I was saying that, there was one other thing that you mentioned that we could actually talk. Oh, word to the wise. So, old Dave. One of the things Dave likes about living here is that there's a place where you can get meat food. My wife is a vegetarian. I am decidedly not. And so, me likey meat. Me had brisket yesterday. Me very happy. Me also loving and liking a place called Mission Barbecue, which is a chain. It's around Atlanta, which has, I wouldn't say it's reasonably priced because me is never reasonably priced, but a little bit cheaper and ribs. Barbecue, spare ribs or the meaty kind of ribs on the bone. And they also do brisket, and they also do smoked turkey, and they also do other stuff. But they have the same.
Showing. Don't, David, stop drooling. Stop drooling.
Stop drooling. Meat!
What is it? That's the Black Plate Special. See, what does it say?
So here's the deal. Let me.
Instagram, yeah.
Many weeks ago, went to Mission Barbecue in the mood for ribs, but I noticed on the coal board that they had a Black Plate Special, which is their version. It's like a military version, but
like a
blue plate special. And the blue plate special was, or black plate, was a Hawaiian ribeye steak, which is basically a ribeye done with a little bit of like sweeter sauce and butter. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna get the ribs because this is a really decent price and ribeye steak, And it was, just yummy, and I loved it. And I ordered it every week. And I kind of went off the ribs just because why am I going to spend $14 for 3 little ribs on a bone when I get for $13 I get a ribeye steak? Yeah.
Yes, but it was also, you said, very delicious. It wasn't just like a steak. You thought it was seasoned perfectly.
But every few weeks they change the Black Plate Special. So after this ribeye, they had a hamburger. Fucking hamburger. That was, cheeseburger. It was perfectly okay. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was like $10 for a burger, which is in this day and age pretty decent. It was good, but it was a burger. How do you get a burger at fucking Wendy's?
Yeah, but they probably wanted to appeal to kids, and then maybe they wanted to appeal to people who didn't like.
I had a burger on campus this week in the student commissary area that was better than the burger I had from Mission Barbecue. Or maybe it was just hungrier. Yeah. And then finally they changed the burger out, which was good. Okay. And then their next Black Plate Special, shrimp. Shrimp was good, and it was yummy. It was really, really tasty. Barbecued shrimp on the grill, perfectly grilled.
But you didn't want shrimp. You wanted barbecue.
Well, it was like $14 for like 7 shrimp on a thing, and you get a little piece of cornbread. I was getting a rib steak for 14 minutes. And now you're giving me these little tiny little fucking things out of the ocean. It's like, come on! My friends, words of the wise. And I'm not pitching them, although this would be a great commercial for them. The Black Plate Special changed shortly after Labor Day.
Well, I had called the restaurant and asked when. I said, will it be the end of August? And she said, no, Labor Day. And so then I called to double check, and then the guy described it to us over the phone.
Yeah. At which point Dave had to change his pants because he had an orgasm in the car. The current Black Plate Special at Mission Barbecue is smoked, seasoned, and seared ribeye. Our Black Plate Special dry rubbed with our special espresso rub. Sliced and seared. Sliced and seared to order. Pair it with our fluffy and buttery corn casserole. Now, I don't need to do that. Or for our dessert, try our new salted caramel butterscotch treat. Love butterscotch, not so much salted caramel.
Yeah,
Topped with whipped cream, pretzel pieces, and caramel drizzle.
David, stop, please. It does. That's exactly what you like. Oh, there's a little
Espresso
Oh,
rub.
they have a picture of each one here.
Oh, do they?
So
Oh,
you
do
see
they?
The little, you can do the pictures. So you see the little
Well, I see the ribeye. I see the.
just see the little arrow, side arrow, and the picture of the ribeye there.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. They're
And
gonna.
that's the corn.
Well, okay, that doesn't look quite as appetizing. I'm sure it's
No.
delish.
Now do the
Looks like a
last
baked
one,
potato.
And show the dessert.
And then the dessert. Let's try this. All right, all right. I mean, there's the pretzel pieces. I'm sure it's nummy. I'm sure it's really sweet and like all the calories you need for the month in one dish. But ladies and gentlemen,
Comments. I don't know if I can view. I can't.
what a week! Joyce's glasses.
I can't view the comments because
Oh, it's not on the
Yeah, I can't view the comments.
Oh, it's a Facebook.
No, I'm not in link.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But Joyce's glasses fixed instantly,
Yeah.
and ribeye is back at the Black Plate Special at Mission Barbecue. Oh, life is good. and we have inflatable tube guy, and he's met his inflatable tube gal. She's sleeping. They've already had their fun.
Oh,
Usually he's the one who rolls over and
Wake
goes
up
to
your
sleep.
taste buds with this coffee rubbed ribeye. Get it?
Oh, because coffee and
Yeah.
the caffeine.
Wow.
Yeah.
They call it Black Plate Special because it's served on a black plate.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, but I'm wondering if like military is on, because Mission Barbecue has one of the things is it's about veterans, it's about people who serve in the military.
Yes.
Like on Veterans Day, they get to eat free, and then they do. And when they open, if they usually open at like 11:30 in the morning, at noon they always play the Star Spangled Banner, and everybody kind of stops what they're doing. So never go to Mission Barbecue at like 11:55 because you're gonna be stuck there standing for a minute.
When you first went there, they give you free ribs. That's what hooked you. Remember, you were like, I said, go check it out, and you're like, can I try a rib? And they gave you one, and then you're like, oh, it's good.
No, I didn't say, can I try a rib?
No. What did
They
you
said,
say?
I said,
Yeah.
what I asked them. This is
Yeah.
the first time months ago when I
Yeah.
went to. I said, okay, you've got baby back ribs and you've got spare
Like a
ribs,
dry rub or
spare
something.
ribs, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Chinese restaurant. But I'm like, I just see this menu. I'm like up at this counter, the first time in the restaurant. I'm like, what's the difference? And they said, well, this one is more like the Chinese. Do you want to try one? They told me. They asked. I didn't say,
wow.
can you give me a sample? I'm not. No. I'm Jewish, but I'm not Jewish like that.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, do you want to try one? And they gave me the rib on, like the baby back.
Yeah.
And I was literally like, I'm going to drool all over you now. Like,
And then what happened? Did they give you a second?
well, then I said, okay, so I was ready to order the baby back ribs. And I said, well, the spare ribs are kind of more Chinese restaurant-y. Try one of those. Try one of those. So basically they gave me 2 free, like, little bony things.
Sure.
And they were both delicious, but baby back has more. I just wanted the baby backs. And I ordered it. And they knew. It was like crack. They knew. They had me forever. And now, of course, when I look at it, it's like, you order like 4 bones with some meat on them. It's like $14, $15. I'm like, Jesus
But
Christ.
that's what it is. That's what food, like even a breakfast is like 15. So,
I know. Well,
yeah. I mean, that's the,
Pancakes, $15 without even bacon. I'm like, come on.
That's what it is. You gotta go with the times, right?
No, I don't. I want to find a crappy little diner somewhere where you can get
So then
eggs, pancakes, bacon.
Tonight we're not gonna go get your steak. We'll just get you'll have toast.
But tonight is not breakfast.
No, tonight you'll just have toast.
Tonight's dinner.
Toast.
No, I don't have toast for dinner.
Aww.
Dave has meat. Davey liking meat. Now, very happily, our guest is already in the waiting room. So you know what? We'll do Greeley Crimes and Old Times in a while.
Good transition.
We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we're going to. You'll know this place, Longmont. It's taken all this time for me to make a poem about Longmont, Colorado.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And it's not a pleasant poem.
I can imagine.
It's disgusting, but I wrote it. And please don't let me forget.
What?
Because I don't want to do it now because we can get him on a little bit early. We do have Bunion Watch.
Well, Bunion Watch is very exciting, yes.
I know. So much
do you
to
have
look
music to it?
No, I
we'll
didn't have
just
time
make some music.
to do
Okay.
music. Yeah, we can sing something about bunions.
Of course.
It's a bunny and an onion.
Okay.
But before we get to all of that, as well as the Friends of the Daverhood, I want to remind you that you're watching Dave's Gone By. We're on from 9 until noon or thereabouts every Saturday on this Facebook page, and then you can go to our archives, davesgoneby.com. And I mean this, Richard Davis, that interview is there. Mike Peters, the interview is there. If you don't want to watch it on my website for some reason, we also have a whole channel on archive.org. Archive.org. It's the same material, in fact, sometimes in higher quality, because they can take a bigger file when I'm uploading. So either place, just thousands of hours of comedy, of talk, of nuttiness, of Dave. Because we've done 910 episodes, and some of those episodes were 6 hours long. I mean, it's batshit, right? So the archives are there, or if you just like audio, we have MP3 or podcastable versions of the audio of the show only, and all the episodes we've ever done at castbox.fm. Castbox.fm. We also have a YouTube channel, Dave's Gone By. What it just means is we have so many ways for you to enjoy all the past content that we've done over nearly 21 years doing this. Early October is going to be our beginning of our 22nd year on the air. So pretty thrilling. So it's just a couple of minutes till 10 o'clock. We're ready just about for our guest to come into the Daverhood. He is a veteran comedian. He's also a veteran politician, which is kind of neat. We had our first real politician on the show when a mayor was on last year.
Oh, yes.
And she was a lot of fun. She was really great. But Jimmy Tingle is also a comedian and has done this for a bunch of times. And he's going to be appearing at the New York Comedy Club this Tuesday evening, September 12th. You're going to want to get tickets for that. He also hosts a podcast, because who doesn't? So, and he's got like an amazing name. His name is, and I guess we'll ask if that is his real name. I'll bet it is. Jimmy Tingle.
I love it.
What a great Jimmy Tingle.
I'm sure he never got teased. Yeah.
No,
Not
never,
at all.
never at all. Something I didn't actually write it down, but there was a person born in Longmont, Colorado, like Argentine or no, it was like English or something like that. Whose last name is Moron. And it's not even Spanish where it'd be like, oh, Moron. No, something, any person did not change their names. Had to go through life with a last name Moron, which is kind of great. I'm kind of awful for them. Yeah. Anyway, oh my God, we got to bring Rabbi Saul Solomon. He'll be doing the interview. He is the founder, spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. He's been with us since our very first show, and he does so many of our interviews now. So without further ado or a don't, won't you please welcome to the Daverhood, once again, Rabbi Saul Solomon. He'll be with you in a sec. Okay. I'm tingling.
Audio Jungle.
Anoint me with the filter oil. Shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies. This is me, King Solomon. Get it? King Solomon? That's a little joke for you. No, but I am not the king. The king of this segment is going to be our guest coming into the Daverhood on this Shabbos morning, September 9th, 2023. He is a veteran comedian and a politician, which is kind of an interesting thing, where this is a politician who's intentionally saying funny and ridiculous things. So he's going to be joining us because he's going to be appearing in Manhattan at a club this Tuesday, right here. So I just want to make sure that we're Jimmy, are you there?
Howdy doody.
Oh, well, I made a duty this morning. I'm good. Let me see if we can do this where gallery. Oh, that's better. There. Hello, shalom to you. Howdy doody to you. Shalom doody to you. Jimmy Tingle. Welcome to the Daverhood. Let me tell people, you are an Ivy League graduate, a guest speaker, a comedian, a 3-time Best of Boston winner for your stand-up and your solo shows. You've also owned a theater of your own. You still do. You are a host of a podcast, and most of all, you do comedy. You have a show coming up on Tuesday evening at the New York Comedy Club, which happens to be in New York. It's on 318 West 53rd Street.
Yeah, the Broadway Comedy Club.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Broadway Comedy Club, not the New York Comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, got it.
By the way, Rabbi, very nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay? Is this mic connected?
Yeah, oh, really, are you doing the comedy thing? Is this on? Is it? Oh, it's on.
Yes.
You sound fantastic. You look
Okay.
great.
How does the backdrop look?
Well, every time you move, so it's sort of like waves of black and then
Right.
purple and black and purple.
Right. So do you want to, we can fix that before we go live, or are we live?
We are live. You are live
Okay.
on the show right now. This is not a preview.
Hello, America.
Hello, America says hello to Jimmy Tingle. I think
Yep.
the first question that I have to ask you most of all is that your real name? Is Tingle like an Irish name? How'd that come?
Yes.
Tingle.
Tingle is my real name. Yes, my father was from North Carolina originally, and our heritage is English, Irish, Scottish, Swedish, that on his side, and my mother is all Italian. So Tingle is our real name, and I think it's both an English, Irish origins, the name Tingle.
Now, let me ask you, how often over the years have you been asked to imitate President John F. Kennedy? Because despite the voice, I'm hearing it, and it's like, oh, for gosh sakes.
Rabbi, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
It's literally, that really is it. Then, do you ever do impressions, or is that not generally where you go?
Not really. I don't really do impressions too often, but people also say, anybody ever tell you look like Bill Clinton?
Yes, there's one picture of you. We put it up on Facebook today,
Yeah.
and you're like this, and it's like it's spitting image. It really is. It actually is. I do want to say I can do a very, very quick impression of Bobby Kennedy.
Okay.
Oh, my head! No, that's terrible. That's
Rabbi, I'm surprised at you. Are you a real rabbi?
Only my hairdresser knows for sure. Now, let me ask you. See, these were styled this morning. Let me ask you a few different things, Jimmy Tingle. First of all, the producer and host of this program is tremendously envious and jealous of you because you got into a place that he was rejected from.
Where's that?
I don't mean his ex-wife. No, Harvard. You went to Harvard University, not for business, for government. So, were you an amazing student in school and high school and all that, or how did you get into Harvard?
Well, I went to the Kennedy School of Government, and I went later in life. I went to graduate school. It's a 1-year program. It's called a mid-career program, and it's 1 year, and it is highly competitive to get in. But I had been performing, and I had a long career in the Boston area. I did a lot of media. I did a lot of fundraisers. I was interested in politics. And so I applied. I couldn't believe it. A friend of mine who went to the school, she said, Jimmy, and she was on the Cambridge City Council, and she was a politician. Her name was Marjorie Decker. She said, Jimmy, I just graduated from the Kennedy School. She said, you should apply. I said, really? She said, yes. They want people from different walks of life, and they also have scholarships for people who grew up in Cambridge, and they want people from different professional walks of life. And let's be honest, Jimmy, you're different. So I applied, Rabbi, and you're not going to believe it. When that letter of acceptance, first of all, I had to take the GREs, and I hadn't been in school in 35 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when I got that letter of acceptance 4 months later, I couldn't believe it, that I was accepted to the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. And Rabbi, when I showed up for class on the first day, they couldn't believe it either.
Well, I look at you and I think, diversity hire. No, but but
Rabbi, I want to tell you something. I don't know if you've ever gone back to school, or if you ever, or any of your listeners are ever considering going back to school or not. But the great thing about going back to school in your 50s, you get the student ID and the senior discount.
Thank you ever so
Ba-dum.
much.
So I
Free
highly recommend
subscription
it.
to the New York Times for a year. Also, you
Pardon me?
give them that email. You get a free subscription to the New York Times because you're access to the library and all these things.
Right, right.
So let me ask you. How did you, for a full year, did you even have time to work and support yourself, or did you just save a lot of money? Did you take out a student loan? I mean, how did you manage it?
No, I took a year off. I had saved money. My wife was incredibly supportive. I just took a year off, and I mean, I had to honor a couple of the dates I had on the books, for events, but I maybe did 3 or 4 in the course of a year. But I basically just tried to focus on going to class, doing the assignments, and because I was obviously concerned that I'd be able to do the work, having not been in school in 35 years. I'm saying, oh my God, I got to write papers, I got to do all this. But I found it wonderful because I found it a very uplifting place. The student body was from all over the world. Half were from other countries, and half were from the U.S. So you got a real sense of the international community, and you also got a sense of the international community's, in many cases, respect and admiration for the United States. Not universally and not over every single issue, but generally speaking, there was a lot of just a really sense of admiration for the
There's a
U.S.
reason people still want to come to this country.
That's right. That's right. And it made
Among the
me,
fish and barbecue, having prime rib is a Black Place special right now. So this is
yeah. And one of the things is it put my interpretation of the US in a different light, because we grow up here, we live here. Oftentimes we take things for granted that you can't do in many countries. So anyway, that was a really wonderful revelation to me, and it was just a very inspiring and uplifting experience going back to school.
now the whole point of it for you was this before you ran for lieutenant governor. Was that it was like
Yes,
I learned
it
how to
was.
govern before what? Yeah.
Oh, yes, it was. But Rabbi, I have to tell you, may I call you Rabbi, or how do you
Oh,
like to be
please
referred
do
to?
it. You can call me Your Eminence, Your
Your
Highness.
Eminence,
Yes,
Your Holiness, Your Holiness. Let me ask you, Your Holiness.
yes.
I think one of the great things, I actually did the commencement address in the 2010 commencement address at Harvard with everybody. I mean, the whole school. I was the graduate school commencement speaker. And on the dais, I had no idea, but Meryl Streep was on the dais. She was getting an honorary degree that day. And Judge Souter, Supreme Court Judge Souter, was there. So it was an amazing 35,000 people watching. So that was a lot of fun. But if you want to see something pretty funny, it's certainly one of the funniest commencement addresses at Harvard. You can see it at just Google Jimmy Tingle Harvard commencement address,
Okay,
or come to
Google
the
that.
website
Is there a link on your own
jimmytingle.com.
website, jimmytingle.com? Do you have a
Pardon
link
me?
to it? Do you have a link to it on jimmytingle.com?
Yes, we have a link to it at the website. Yep.
I do want to push the website too, because you can find out all about Jimmy Tingle and his career and what he does. I mean, and we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
But so how long ago did you go to? You said 2010. You were to commence,
2010, I graduated. Yes.
and you ran for lieutenant governor just a couple of years ago.
I ran for lieutenant governor in 2018, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, I I felt like I wanted to. I don't know if you ever feel this way. Maybe you do, doing this show. Maybe it's a way you see it as a furthering your mission or your ministry or your spiritual,
Oh, I have
life.
no spiritual anything.
I don't know if you're a real rabbi. I got to come back to that. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to do more than just tell jokes, or at least try to do something that had some. I wanted to implement some of the things I have been talking about on stage for many years. And I did a lot of social and political humor over the years. So I was just motivated. And when the former president got elected, I said, and people would say, how did he win? How did the former president win? And I would argue he had short, simple statements, short, simple sentences, 3 words: build the wall. Drain the swamp, lock her up, make America great. 3 words. Rabbi, you'll appreciate that. We have our own 3 words. Feed the hungry. Feed the hungry, Rabbi. Not only the people who are hungry for food, the people who are hungry for opportunity.
I'm
House the
hungry right now. Feed
homeless.
me. This is, the hell with it. The poor.
Yes,
No, I'm a
right.
little hungry just thinking about Mission Barbecue at the moment. No, but no, that is
House the
two.
homeless. Not only the people who are walking the streets on a nightly basis in every city and town in America.
Oh, I can't
Sadly,
go
many
through
many
those.
of our veterans, but also the people who work every day, all day, and are simply trying to find a safe, affordable place to live and raise a family. And welcome the stranger, Rabbi. Welcome the stranger. So America continues to welcome people into this great country rather than pushing people out. Rabbi, this is the message of America. This, my friend, is the human message. Feed the hungry, house the homeless, heal the sick, welcome the stranger, and I would add, fix the trains.
So the main thing is having the word "the" in the middle of everything. No, but Mussolini made the trains run on time. He wasn't so. But let me ask you.
Fix the trains. But Rabbi, if JFK, if John F. Kennedy could inspire a generation to go to the moon, I would say the people of New York can get the F train to get to Queens.
I think that's a pipe dream. That's not really going to happen. It took 70 years to finish the Second Avenue subway. You think you're going to get the F? But let me ask you about this though. So
Now, are you
make
located in New York?
hmm?
Are you located in New York?
For many years, my shul is in Great Neck, Long Island. It's
Okay.
a very tiny temple. We're in the back of a gas station, but we're very proud of it. But here's the question for you though. You make it sound like simple, and as Trump did in simplistic terms. Do this, do that, do that. So it's easy to say welcome the strangers as you do. It is
Yeah.
another thing to say let's bring in 20,000 strangers and put them in what was a luxury hotel on the middle of 48th Street. I mean,
Right.
what do you actually do?
Right. Well, obviously, you need comprehensive immigration reform that should have been already in place, and we wouldn't be at these difficult situations right now. Because we're in an emergency situation. But I agree with you, and everybody's rethinking this whole idea of trying to accommodate, you know, hundreds of thousands of people who are legitimately in serious need and who have legally been allowed into the country because of their, asylum status. I believe that's most of it. It's asylum, and that's what we try to.
People have been trying to put me in an asylum for years. I'm somehow scared to get bribe some judges. But yeah, no, but it is. But again, you can't just say, well, this is an old problem. We built it to a crisis level. That isn't enough. There has to be like, what the hell do we actually finish the wall? And then everybody coming in, we just say yes, no. But at a certain point, you say no until you have jobs or a place to put them. Or do you first say, come on in because we're safe, and then we'll figure out what the hell to do with you.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
Yeah, I know. No, it's a big dilemma. And Rabbi, you know this probably in a with a much deeper understanding than I. But one of the ways, I think one of the reasons we have this asylum system in America is because you know what happened with the ship, the USS St. Louis, back in the 30s when there were Jews trying to escape Nazi Germany. They got to the shores of America, and many people said, no, we're sorry. They could have disease. Where are we going to put them? All these different reasons, some of which are still being used today for these other people. Now, there weren't hundreds of thousands, but there were significant numbers, and they were turned away and they were sent back to Europe. And as you know, many of them, I don't know if all, but many of them perished in the war. And when people took a step back after the war and they realized, wow, that was wrong. That was not a good look for America. That obviously hurt thousands of people. It was the wrong thing to do. We're not that type of country. So we changed our asylum laws. My understanding is when people come and live for legitimate asylum reasons, we try to accommodate them. But I agree that 100,000 at a time is really challenging. But we have to have more of a comprehensive system and a comprehensive immigration reform in the country. And I think you would agree with that.
Well, let me ask you, having run for lieutenant governor,
Mhm.
did you come out with a greater respect for politics, or did you just be like, oh my God, well, I thought I would just say my things, people would agree with me, they would vote for me over the other candidate, and then I get to work and be able to help. And or is it a swamp?
No, I mean, I have way more respect for the people who do that work than I did before I ran. As an entertainer, excuse me, you can say anything you want. You don't have to get my jokes approved before they actually get to the audience. There's no interference between what I think or what I want to say in the joke and the audience, right? So you get this immediate reaction. Government obviously doesn't work like that. So there's and they were built into the system, checks and balances, so that nobody can just be a dictator in the U.S. So I have a lot of respect for the people who are doing the work day to day in the trenches, trying to make that more perfect union that we're all aspiring to create here in the U.S.
If you
And
could run again, what would you do differently? I mean, do you see mistakes
what
that
I
you
would have
along
done
the way?
differently, I would have given myself more time. I sort of jumped in. I it had I would have given myself more time. I would have had a team in place before I announced. I would have had a website. I would have had a campaign manager. I would have had a treasurer. I would have had money in the bank. I would have had everything set up before I announced. What happened to
Yeah.
me is I couldn't decide whether I should do it or not do it, do it or not do it. And I got an email from a woman in India. I had been advocating for many years uh, windmills on the highway. It's a satirical approach, but for energy, windmills in the breakdown lane on the highway, little windmills to generate electricity to by cars running on oil, right? To generate electricity to reduce our dependency on oil. Now it's a satirical
Why? Why is it? What's
approach
the difference? Dude,
to
it could work. Yeah.
yeah, to energy. Well, I thought it could work too, but at the time I wrote it, it was satirical. Then I got a letter from a woman in India in 2017. She said, Jimmy, I saw your comedy routine a couple of years ago at the Montreal Comedy Festival in Canada. And I just want to let you know, Mr. Tingle, that your vision for putting windmills on the highway to generate electricity is now being implemented in India. Rabbi, when I got that, I said, oh my God, I have to run. I'm a visionary.
Excellent. So will you ever run it? Will you ever try again? Or was that your shot and you might
No,
go on a
I,
school board or something, but
yeah, I would never say never, but I don't know. I don't know. Right now, I am just loving being back on stage. I'm loving doing the one-man shows. The show that I'm doing at the Broadway Comedy Club
yeah.
is it's an autobiographical show, and there's politics involved, but it's from a personal point of view. For example, that story right there about how I actually ran. And I want to tell you something kind of funny, if I may, Rabbi.
Oh, no,
So,
don't say anything funny on this show.
okay.
Just goes
So,
into a vacuum.
as
Yeah.
soon as you run, as soon as you fill out the paperwork to run for office in Massachusetts, I didn't realize this. It's like a press release. It goes out to the media. An hour later, I get a call from the Boston Globe. Jimmy, are you running for lieutenant governor? Why, yes, I am. What are you, nuts? You have a great life. Why are you doing it? Why? Because I've been talking about social and political issues on stage for 35 years, and I want to try to implement some of the things I've been talking about all this time. He says, I want to take the whole thing to another level. He says, can I quote you? I said, absolutely, you can quote me. So he said, all right, we'll be in touch. So 2 hours later, I'm in Walgreens, okay? My mother was 90 years old at the time, okay? Uh, Everybody takes turns doing the shopping. This was my day to do the shopping. I'm in Walgreens. I'm in the Depends aisle, okay? Rabbi,
I know it well.
I got a big package of jumbo Depends, okay? My wife, Catherine, calls me. She goes, Jimmy, you're not going to believe this. The man from the Boston Globe, he put the article on Boston.com. It's gone viral. It's in the New York Times, the LA Times. Boston comedian Jimmy Tingle declares candidacy for lieutenant governor of Massachusetts. I have no campaign manager, no headquarters, no staff, no bank account, no treasurer, no website, and no money. Rabbi, for the first time in my life, I'm thinking, I need Depends.
My God. No, but I mean, good for you for having the spirit and the spunk to do it. I want to talk, though, about comedy, too.
Sure.
Because at what point, as you said, did you come up in those years of the ubiquitous comedy boom that gave us people, everyone from Seinfeld to Kevin James to,
Yep.
like, where it's just, comedians everywhere, and a lot of them were becoming famous? Or were you in the next wave right after that?
No, I was in the early 80s. I came
Right.
up in the 80s, so I started with when I actually moved to New York in 1987. I think it was 87. Yeah, when I moved to New York in the end of 87, the beginning of 88, I was working at Catch a Rising Star largely. And the lineups at Catch a Rising Star at that time would be Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David, Dennis Miller, Roseanne. I think Roseanne was down there. Just a lot of Colin Quinn, Chris Rock, a lot of the comics. I mean, it was a real, great, and many, many more. So we were all, had been doing it maybe 7 or 8 years, most of us, maybe 10 years. In Jerry's case, I think he started a little earlier. I
It
think
was a
Larry
kid.
started.
I think he was at the brokerage before, or something like that.
But that was a real scene back then. So I started back then. And, but I'll tell you something, I got into the one person shows fairly early. And the way I got into it, I wanted to do a one man show. And my friends in comedy said, Jimmy, if you want to do a one man show, you got to see Jackie Mason. And he was doing a one-person show on Broadway. And honestly, Rabbi, I didn't really know who Jackie Mason was. I had never been to a Broadway show.
You're not
So,
Jewish. You're not. You
yeah.
wouldn't get that.
So let's check this out. So I go to see Jackie Mason, and I walk into this theater, packed Broadway house, 2,500 people laughing hysterically. Rabbi, when 2,500 people laugh, you can literally feel the
It wouldn't
vibrations
be.
in the
There's no
audience.
Broadway theater that's 2,500. Even the Winter Garden isn't 25. I think it's more like 1,800 at max. But okay.
This was packed, Rabbi. And every time he hit a punchline, the place would vibrate. It would literally vibrate. And I was sitting in the balcony on the first row in the balcony. And at one point, I grabbed the railing, and the railing was vibrating. And Rabbi, I had this epiphany. And I knew at that moment what I wanted to be, a Jewish comic. Rabbi, do you know what it's like to be in a packed Broadway house when 2,500 people are hanging on your every word, laughing hysterically at every single thing you say? Do you know what that's like? Well, let me say this, me either.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you see that Jackie Mason, well, I'm funny. I've got good material. I can create a show. And
Yeah.
you have that vision of one day I will be playing the Helen Hayes Theater or
Yeah.
the Lunfontaine or the Broadhurst or something. And then the reality of it is you spend year after year after year playing some nice clubs in New York, then schlepping to ho-hos in Podunkville,
Yeah.
to chuckle wuckles here, and so was that your life too, or did you kind of avoid the roadie, the crappy condo thing?
No, I had done the road leading up to that point, but when I walked out of that theater, and this is the honest to God truth, when I walked out of that theater, I was high. I was so elevated. My spirit was so elevated. I felt this is what I want to do. Do you ever have that moment when you realize this is what I want to do? And that's what I wanted to do. I saw a man on stage perfectly comfortable doing what he loves to do. He wasn't trying to change anything. He was doing the act that had been honed for 30 years, whatever, in the Catskills. I mean, he was doing essentially what he wanted to do. And that's all I wanted to do is I just wanted to do my material. Of course, when you do a theater show, you have great, the boundaries are much broader. So you can be serious, you can be funny, you can be political, you can be silly, you can do, there are no rules. And the audience is there to listen, and they'll go with you on this ride for 90 minutes or so, an hour or an hour and a half, whatever it is. And so I just aspired to do that. As soon as I saw him, and I just was committed to doing the one person show, and I would rent out little places in the village. I rented one night, my agent, Irvin Arthur, brought Henny Youngman to see me in the village. But the funny thing is, this is like 1990 maybe. Irvin Arthur brings Henny Youngman and Michael Green and Michael Green's sister. They were all worked for Irvin Arthur Associates. So there's four people. That were the only four people in the audience, right?
Oh no.
Four people. And so I'm doing 90 minutes in front of four people, right? And and I was into it, and I was sweating, and I was like going 100 miles an hour. And at one point I looked over, and Henny was like,
Well, yeah. Well, he was not a young. He was not a Henny young man at that point.
no, he was, no, he wasn't. He wasn't. But it was so gracious of Irvin Arthur to do that, to, to support me. And then I got people like Jack Rollins behind me, who
Rollins and
managed
Jockey.
Woody.
They were producing Woody Allen. Well, they were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They produced all Woody's shows, all his films. And I think he had managed Letterman. And, so I got people. Jack came out of retirement to work with me because he loved the type of material that I was doing. And we did it we did the show at the American Place Theater in New York. And we got a wonderful review in the New York Times that I'm still able to use today. And I've been very, very, very fortunate. But I have to tell you, Rabbi, can I tell you a funny story about starting with the one-man
not.
show?
No, I warned you.
So I'm renting these little theaters. I'm renting these places. And one of the places I rented was the Back Alley Theater in Inman Square, Cambridge, where I grew up. 3 blocks from where I grew up, the Back Alley Theater. It holds about 30 people. So on opening night, I rented for 3 weeks. On opening night, 10 minutes before the show starts, I looked through the curtain to see how many of my friends and relatives and fans had showed up to support young Jim Tingle. One person in the audience, my mother. I look at her, she looks at me, we both burst out laughing. I said, Mom, I can't believe you're the only person that showed up. Oh, don't worry, your father's parking the car.
But did more people, were there a couple of stragglers, and by the time you got started, maybe 5 people were there, or really was it only them?
My brother and his wife came. I mean, we had about 8 by the end of the night.
8 is not 1.
But it built, Rabbi. It built. It was a movement.
But that was a brave thing to rent a theater for 3 weeks. Was it how many times a week? Was it 8 shows, or did you just do 3 or 4?
No, I'd do like 3 nights. 3 nights. I'd do like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Good for you. Yeah. And did you at least get reviewed? Because that's the one, you're not going to make your money back at all.
I didn't get reviewed at that theater, but what I got was a wonderful director. His name was Larry Arick. And Larry Arick had worked with Nichols and May. He was one of the founders of what became Second City, the Compass Players back in Chicago. He was just this very accomplished director who, like Jack Rowland, really loved what I was doing. And he wanted to help me. And Larry and I did the show at we did the Charles Playhouse in Boston. We did the Halstead Theater in Chicago. We did San Francisco. We ultimately did the Coast Playhouse in Los Angeles. And we did the Hasty Pudding Theater in Cambridge, Mass. At Harvard. Yeah. And I have to tell you, it became the longest running one-person show in Hasty Pudding Theater history after we did that. So it was a wonderful ride with Larry.
What is something that specifically that Larry Arick gave to your one-person show that you wouldn't have known? He's like saying, stop pacing. Just, what did he tell you to do?
Just like Jack Rollins, Larry was completely dedicated to the show. Jack would come to every single one of my shows in New York, and after we'd go out and we would have dinner, and he would give me some notes, what he thought about this, what he thought about that. And that was in a general sense. Larry was a director, and he'd do the same thing. He would give me notes, but he would go through it. He'd have a legal pad, and he'd have like 40 things, like, don't stop, don't repeat yourself here, put this bit up here, or suggestions. Ultimately, he had the respect that I could do what I wanted, but he would give me really strong suggestions about how to organize it. Don't repeat yourself. Sometimes you can come off really harsh. Sometimes you need to clarify something. You're not clear in your thoughts. That type of thing. Honing, editing. I mean, who was the great writer that said, Neil Simon, he said, writing is rewriting. And, it's really about rewriting or re-editing things. And so Larry gave great clarity, and he had so much professional experience. He worked with Charles C. Scott, and he did film and television and everything, and he did Broadway plays. And he directed Dustin Hoffman in the the Journey of the Fifth Horse in the early 60s. So he had a lot of experience. I was a comedy club act, basically. I had no theater experience, and he helped shape and hone my act so it made sense, so a theater audience would appreciate it. And then once the reviews came out in the New York Times and the Boston Globe and the LA Times, I just had complete confidence and complete trust in his ability to help me, and he just was wonderful.
Now let me ask you. Since you were part of that incredible crew, that incredible time in
Yeah.
American comedy, modern American comedy. Do you have any stories about any of the folks that were on those bills that you mentioned? Because you must have hung with them, you must have drunk with them, or watched their acts. Or do you have any good or bad stories about some of the famous people who are up at Catch, who are at Broadway Comedy Club, who are at Brokerage or
Well,
Governors, or actually, you should have been
I'll tell
Governors.
you where I started in Boston. I got to New York in about 87, 88, but I started in Boston, and we started in a Chinese restaurant in Inman Square, Cambridge, called the Ding Ho. And at the Ding Ho Comedy Club, that's where Stephen Wright was discovered by The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Paula Poundstone came out of there. Dennis Leary came out of there. My friend Barry Cremens started the Ding Ho and ultimately became quite a legendary producer and political humorist. But we all started there. Steve Sweeney and Jack Gallagher and Kevin Meaney, and just these names mean a lot to me. They're not always household names. Stephen Wright and Paula Poundstone. Now Lenny Clark is another one.
Well, aren't you
Who
doing,
was
or did you do a Ding Ho, um, like a tribute or some kind of anniversary
yes,
thing?
yeah,
Well, is that
yeah. We
happening soon, or did that already?
Yeah,
Uh,
we did that during the pandemic.
oh,
We did a in 2020 because we couldn't have the live shows. We did a Ding Ho 40th anniversary tribute to Barry Cremens, who had passed, and a fundraiser for his wife Helen Cremens, who was suffering with breast cancer. So we raised a lot of money and we had a lot of fun. We did like a 4-hour show on Zoom, and we had 26 comedians over 60 years old on Zoom. So and this is not when everybody was as familiar with Zoom as they are now. But anyway, so it was a great time. But yeah, that's where the Johnny Carson folks came to the Ding Ho, this little Chinese restaurant in Niman Square, Cambridge, and that's where they discovered Stephen Wright and
but
Jim
I
McCon.
want to hear a personal story. Do you have any like funny memories or not so nice memories of these people like Stephen Wright, Roseanne Barr, Jerry Seinfeld, I'm Kevin Meaney, the other folks,
Well, I'll tell you
McDonald,
when
whoever. Yeah.
sure when Jerry was the probably in 89, I think it might have been, or no, the early 90s. I remember when Catch a Rising Star was closing. Okay, Catch a Rising Star is closing, and we're doing the last show, and Jerry Seinfeld comes in, and they stop the show, and essentially they bring him up, and of course it's like a 5 minute standing ovation. He had the hottest show on television, and it was a 5 minute standing ovation, and people loved it. And he gets up and he's doing his, he does like 20 minutes, right? Then they bring me up.
Uh,
And
he wasn't the
so
closer. Oh, well, I guess
it
they kind of,
it wasn't quite the same reception.
no, well, no, that's just dumb. I mean, no offense to you, but they
No,
probably should have
no
ordered it.
offense, no
Yeah,
offense to me, but much of the audience started talking among themselves, and it was just a very hard spot to go after Jerry in the closing, in the
that's why they bring
twilight of Catch a
musicians
Rising
on
Star.
after something like that. They bring somebody to sing a song on, and then they put another comic on. You need the break
Yeah,
in between. You
you
know,
should have been hosting this, Rabbi. That's
I
exactly
should have.
right. They,
Yes,
you change the conversation, then you bring up the next act. That's exactly right, Rabbi.
of course. I know these things. I know
I
these.
know.
I do sermons. They have to keep everybody interested, and everybody's, they listen to me for 10 seconds, and it's like swipe, TikTok, wipe, this, that. But if I can get them for 12 seconds, I can make an
Right,
impact. 10,
right.
not so much, but 12 I can do. Let me remind people that we're talking with Jimmy Tingle, and you can go see Jimmy Tingle tonight. It's called Jimmy Tingle tonight. You can't see him tonight, but you can see him Tuesday night at the Broadway Comedy Club, which is over on 318 West 53rd Street in Manhattan. That's like 8th Avenue and 53rd Street in
Right.
New York City. Tuesday, I think it's at 7 is the curtain time.
It's a 7 o'clock show. And Rabbi, may I? We just extended it for 4 weeks. We're going to be doing Mondays in the same place
Oh,
at
why didn't you
6
say
o'clock.
this? Hold on. I need a pen. I need to get this down in Hebrew. So wait, so it's running from when to when?
It's running from the first show is the 12th of September, and then we're doing the 18th of September, the 25th of September, the October 2nd,
Wait,
and
the 25th of September is Yom Kippur. You son of
okay.
a bitch, you're
Oh,
performing on Yom Kippur?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We're not gonna promote that one.
That was
But September 12th.
only Protestants can come.
So your first one is on Tuesday night the 12th, then Monday the 18th.
Yep.
Skipping a week. Then Monday
And then
October 2nd or whatever.
Monday, October 2nd,
Right.
and then Monday, October 9th.
Monday, October, and Mazel McClick. This is so wonderful. So
Yes.
yeah. And what's nice is you're in a position, at least as a comedian. You may not be Seinfeld, but you don't have to rent the room. They invite you. You come there, and like, oh, you're selling tickets. Come stay.
Yeah, and you can get the tickets at jimmytingle.com. And they're only $20, Rabbi.
Only is there a minimum? Because I $15 for a drink of
No, we're going to have, if anything, a one drink minimum, but it's a $10 drink. And but I also am playing around with the idea of not even having a drink minimum. What do you think?
Wait,
No
wait.
drink-
Are you? You're not allowed to make that call, isn't
No,
it?
I am. I'm the producer of the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many people do you have to guarantee through the door so that the club doesn't get mad at you or something?
Well, it's a small theater in the club, or there's a comedy club downstairs, and upstairs is a small theater that seats 75 people. So, as long as I get, 30, 40, 50 people, ideally 75. After this interview goes out, Rabbi, I'm surprised if I won't be in a Broadway house,
They
honestly.
will have to take a speaker and put it on the roof of the building for all the people lined up, like for the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They're just going to be lined up all around 53rd Street, waiting to hear the golden words of Jimmy Tingle, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
An unbelievable excitement, but honestly, mazel tov on the extension. I think that's.
Thank you so much.
If I
Thank you.
could
And
take-
listen, I'd love to, if we in fact do a legitimate theater in New York for an extended run, maybe I could come back and talk more with you.
I think that would be an absolutely delightful thing because you've just been so much. I have one or two more questions for you. If you
Sure.
have a couple more minutes, but yes, by all means, I wasn't even expecting this extended run. So maybe we can even get you back on the show sometime in like early October, just
Yeah.
to promote, to make sure. Hey, remember he's here on the 2nd.
Sure.
He's here on the 9th. There's something going on the 25th, but we won't talk about that. But actually, what time does your show start on the 25th?
6 o'clock, and it's a night. It's 6 o'clock, and the reason I'm doing 6 o'clock, the theater is available, and also I'm doing Monday nights because the Broadway houses are closed. So I'm looking for that theater audience that can't go to another show, and so we'll be kind of one of the only shows in town that is performing off Broadway, and it's right on 53rd Street. So it's a nice little club. The drinks are very good. The staff is wonderful. I actually, I just love being there. I just love being back in New York. I live in Boston, but I love getting back down to the city.
So what are you staying in New York with friends, or are you just schlepping on Amtrak back?
Yeah,
and forth?
I'm going back and forth on Amtrak usually,
Wow.
but I might consider driving. I haven't driven. It's about 180 miles, I think it is. It's about a 4-hour drive. I don't know. Some part of me thinks, well, try driving, see how it feels. But the other part of me says, well, Amtrak is easier. You just sit there and you can go over your notes and you can read or do whatever.
Exactly. Let me ask you, speaking of theater, the one thing that we didn't have a chance to ask yet is that you either did or maybe currently own, but you owned a theater with your name on it.
Yep.
In, what was it, Somerville, Massachusetts?
Yep.
Was it legit there? I mean, how did
It
you?
was a small theater. It held 200 people. And I was on 60 Minutes for 2 seasons. And I did that 60 Minutes too. I was doing the Andy Rooney commentaries on that show. And when I left that after 2 seasons, I really wanted to get back on stage. And this theater was held 200 people in a very vibrant neighborhood in Somerville, which is right next to Cambridge. It's a mile from Harvard. It's a very, great neighborhood. A lot of young people. Anyway, I didn't own the theater. I rented it for
You
5 years.
right?
I basically leased it out, and we did 200 performances there. Not just me, but we had other acts coming in, and we did. You know what we did? Like this during 2004, they had the Democratic Convention in Boston, so we ran a month of shows at the Jimmy Tingle's off-Broadway theater, and we had Mort Saul, we had Lewis Black, we had Mark Maron, we had Janine Garofalo, we had Barry Cremens, we had all the comedians who were doing political humor at the time that I could think of that came up. We had a group called Laughing Liberally from New York that came up. It was such a great month of just political humor. Generally
200
speaking.
seater is a pretty nice size. That's a decent sized off Broadway theater at that point. That's
200 seats. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was great. And Mort Saul, you're familiar with Mort Saul?
Yeah, the late. Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Mort Saul.
I usually carry a newspaper under my arm just for looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mort Saul, and this is, he was up there in his age. He said when he came off stage, he got standing ovations every night. And he came off stage and he said to his wife at the time, this might be the best audiences I've ever had, because they were obviously political. They were older audiences. They were theater people, and they just loved his point of view, and they loved seeing him, this legend, in a small place, 200 seats.
Well, that
So
actually
it was-
leads to our final current question, because we do
Yeah.
absolutely want to have you back on the show. But this current question of once you do what you do, whether you're a senior citizen, because there is footage on YouTube and on websites of Mort Saul when he was basically living in a senior home, and they would bring him down once a week to like the lunch or the dining place, put
Yeah.
him in a chair, and he would do like an hour and a half spiel of being Mort Saul. He was 90 something, and in this, and it wasn't a real theater. It was basically like where he was living. And people would come down and say, my God, it's Mort Saul, and do it. A, that's amazing, and B, do you see yourself being that way?
I'm going to do that this morning after this show. I'm going down to the lobby of my senior living establishment, and I'm going to be entertaining the people. Yes, I do see myself doing that. Because you know what? It becomes, it's a calling, Rabbi. You have a calling. I'm sure you'll probably do what you're doing in terms of your preaching, your philosophy, your religious insights.
Until the police stop me, yes.
Yeah, and that's probably what I'll end up doing too. I don't know how much money I'll be making doing it, but I'll probably be doing it.
Welcome to my life. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the comedy and the life of Jimmy Tingle. Remind everybody one more time that he is going to be at the Broadway Comedy Club, not just this coming Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. I mean, you can find that on West 53rd Street, and information at jimmytingle.com, where, by the way, you can also watch his podcast. He's got one of those too. But you can see him at the Broadway Comedy Club on Monday, September 18th. Monday evening, and I feel okay sort of saying this because it's in the evening and Yom Kippur is basically over. So if you come halfway through Jimmy Tingle's show, you're not going to be missing. You're not going to be, making God angry. Dark enough that you're going to go through the door and on the 25th of September, also October 2nd and October 9th. And who knows, maybe more after that. We'll see.
Right.
Or you'll find a quote-unquote legit theater like the American Place or something like Theater Row. Yeah.
But before I go, Rabbi, you had asked about my theater, and I saw the most wonderful show about a month ago in New York. It was Alex Feldman with the show Just for Us. Yeah. I couldn't believe how great it was. I could not believe. Did you see it?
Unfortunately, I did not. I was not in New York.
But it's a wonderful, wonderful show. But he's a young guy, and it's all about growing up in a Jewish household and then going to a white supremacist meeting in Queens or something. But it's hilarious, and he makes it funny. but it's also an insight into Judaism because he talks about the values, he talks about the Torah. He went to Hebrew school, I guess, so he had a very strict religious upbringing. But the thing I loved about it, and after it, he was gracious enough to offer a little meet and greet with the audience. So I hung around to see, because he's from Boston. So I hung around just to say hi. And he goes, Jimmy Tingle. He goes, I can't believe it. Jimmy Tingle. He goes, folks, this is Jimmy Tingle. He says, I did my first, among his first performances at my theater in Davis Square, Somerville, the Jimmy Tingle off-Broadway theater. So it was great seeing Alex. It was great to see how, you start a theater and you can inadvertently help lots of people. And I know you're helping a lot of people, giving people a platform with your show. So I wish you continued success with it, Rabbi.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for having me.
It has been absolutely delightful with Jimmy Tingle. All I can wish you is blessings and great success and leg breaking in the good positive comedy sense. And shalom to you.
Shalom to you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Rabbi?
Yes, my dear.
This is an alert that just came in.
This is an important thing. I have
Delta
a
plane
breaking message. I think this is actually something that is on the Greeley Crimes and Old Times thing.
Oh, really?
So we might want to hold this. Yes. So we'll be talking about this. I won't because I've got to go. But Dave Dubin,
Lord,
he's
Rabbi.
coming back to continue this program. This Dave's gone by. Facebook, your podcast, your program, of the stream live on this Shabbos, September 9th, 2023. It just remains for me to thank you so much for watching. To go on davesgoneby.com to see a lot of the other interviews that I have done on this show. Also, you can go to my website, goddammit, shalomdammit.com. Shalomdammit.com. Shalomdammit. You have to do things 3 times, like on the radio commercial. Shalomdammit.com, because this is where you can read my rabbinical reflection sermons. Also, there's links to my interviews. And also, there's probably pictures of me scratching myself when I think nobody's looking. It's all at shalomdammit.com. And I, God willing, will see you soon. Remember, if I don't see you before then, but I will, most happy Jewish New Year. And more
my Lord.
show coming up momentarily. There we go.
Oh.
All right. So let's hold that in abeyance because we're going to get to that rather soon, right? Almost immediately, in fact, when we do Greeley Times. And of course, we will dedicate this Greeley Times to the memory of Mike Peters of the Greeley Tribune. But that's my wife, Joyce, by the way. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. You're watching Dave's Gone By, our 910th episode. Well, no, all right, wait. We got to tell people what this is.
Okay.
So, you know what? I'll start with an elsewhere. I will start first.
But David, you got to read the caption they wrote. This is on some kind of social media.
All right. Okay. Let me start Greeley Crimes and Greeley Times.
David, and it's
Yes! I've got to share this with people to explain it. Yeah.
How does that happen?
How does it happen? Oh, we'll explain everything, I promise, ladies and gentlemen, on Greeley Times. Oh, it would help if I potted up the music. So, ladies and gentlemen, for many years now, as I explained earlier in the show, we've been doing this segment called Greeley Crimes and Old Times. The Old Times we no longer do because Mike Peters, for obvious reasons, now no longer does them. But we still have news, odd news of the week, of phone calls that come in through the Greeley Police Department from people reporting issues. But we also, since we lost the Old Times part, like to share the occasional bit of odd, ridiculous, crazy news that isn't from Colorado at all. It could be from anywhere in the globe, including, let me set this up with the story
God.
of
I
this.
can't believe it. It's real.
Well, you can't believe it happened. Well, all right, there we go. Okay, so this story comes out of Atlanta, Georgia. A Delta Airlines flight,
Yes.
and this was just a week or so ago,
Yeah.
from Atlanta to Barcelona.
Is now dubbed.
Well, it was diverted back to its original airport
Yes.
after hitting turbulence.
I
This is the
Yeah, I
wording of
know,
the
I know.
story.
know.
I think from Fox News. And a passenger experienced, quote, an onboard medical issue, unquote.
You know what they call the plane?
What do they call it there? Or you know,
Diarrhea plane.
they're calling the plane diarrhea plane. Well, yeah, diarrhea plane. And here's footage of the cabin. Well, let me.
Okay,
I'll show the
yeah.
footage in a minute. This was reported as a case of quote
Yes.
diarrhea all the way through the plane.
How does that happen?
That's what I don't understand.
Like, why don't you go to the bathroom?
Or well, he probably was. That's why it's diarrhea all through the
I
plane.
understand that feeling, but can't he hold it till he gets to the bathroom?
Oh, says the woman to the man who wrote The Miracle of Long Johns.
And also, how do you make? I don't know how one human made that much.
Well, this is rather extraordinary. Here, Flight 194 was 2 hours into its 8-hour
Oh,
run,
God.
runs being the operative term,
God.
when it turned around in Virginia and headed back to Atlanta. Glad they didn't dump over
Why
Maryland.
couldn't it just stop where it was, you know?
It's a plane!
No, it could have gone in Virginia, not going all the way back.
Oh, yeah, and headed back towards Atlanta. I don't know how they... Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they had a clean. Nobody wanted the plane. They're like, you go
No,
back.
no,
You
no.
go back to Atlanta.
Forget the immigrants. We don't want this plane.
Diarrhea plane.
A user on X shared audio recorded from the Airbus where a pilot tells an air traffic control, quote, this is a biohazard issue.
Oh, God.
We've had a passenger who had diarrhea all the way through the airplane.
How all the way?
So they want us to come back to Atlanta.
Yes.
It's like, I guess they accept diarrhea there. I don't know.
They once put someone I know on a plane that didn't exist. Like, we were all at a conference and everyone wanted to go home. And we're in Atlanta, and they're like, they literally put my friend on a plane that did not exist. Like, there was no plane yet. Yeah.
Well, this plane exists, and this is kind of how it looked like, apparently.
You see on the aisle, they have the mats covering over the duty. Look at it.
Wow. What?
That's what I don't know. How could you make
Were they
that much?
800 pounds?
That's what I don't know. How do you have that much in your body?
I mean, it's one thing to have a little loopy
Yes, but you see
One more
that-
time. Let me see one more time.
You see that, like, on the bottom, that's like a lot. David, that's a lot.
That is diarrhea
I've
all
never,
through the plane.
How does one person make that much?
I paraphrase Samuel L. Jackson. I am sick of this motherfucking diarrhea
But also,
on this
how did
motherfucking
that
plane.
come out of their pants? Weren't they wearing pants?
Maybe not at that point. Maybe they're running to the bathroom.
They took down their pants?
I don't know. Well, pants, it's not as if they seal around the bottom of your leg. You know, once that starts happening and flowing, it just goes
I don't
straight
understand
down.
the diarrhea thing.
Was he butt scooting maybe like a dog?
Let's see, here's the diarrhea. There's another picture. Let's see.
No, a Delta
Here's a
spokesman.
CNN one talking about
Yeah.
flight disrupted by passenger with diarrhea.
Well, yeah, it would be. Because I'm sure like 50 flights a day all over the world
How
have
does
diarrhea
diarrhea
people.
all the way through the airplane?
Well, you saw it.
But I don't understand that.
And it's like, how?
I think you got the text, the audio, the thing from CNN.
Maybe.
Oh, here's New York Post. Because,
Oh,
New York Post would handle it with the...
with class. What are they saying? Or
Because they would handle it with
I need to show this. Wait, didn't they have the poo? It did. Hold on. They had the great
Okay, so just
icon.
click on...
Oh, hold on. Also, look who's here with us today.
Click, you gotta do it quick, okay?
Pooh, we love this story.
Quick.
Okay. Here we go. Passengers. Oh, wait. Passengers on board diarrhea plane share ordeal. Quote.
Here, I'll
It
get
was
it.
dribbled down the aisle, smelled awful.
Of course.
Oh my
Let's
God.
see. I'll see if the video. Gross out passengers.
I wonder if airplanes have the equivalent of that pink sawdust elementary schools used to throw
They
down
said
over
that
kid
it was a
vomit.
biohazard.
Well, it is. I mean, that's going in the. Remember, it's
Oh,
recycling
a woman who
the.
had this experience.
What? Sorry.
A woman.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I have
Well,
more
yeah.
pictures.
Well, yeah.
How do you do that? Damn.
It's a talent. It's something that did not get them on America's Best Next Top Model.
Had diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta. Negative. It's just a biohazard issue. We've had a passenger who had diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta. Negative. It's just a biohazard issue.
Oh my God.
Diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so.
I mean, like,
Georgia.
I don't understand it.
He's got Georgia on his ass. I guess.
It's like they call it a diarrhea trail. I've never.
That's not what Daniel
It was-
Boone wanted to follow. I'll tell you.
They used vanilla scented disinfectant, which the person said made it smell like vanilla. Like, look at this, David.
Oh, yeah. No, that obviously I would guess a fat woman.
No, but it doesn't matter your size. You
Well,
only
it
have
does.
your intestines and your body can only hold so much volume. What was wrong with that person? Was that like?
What do you? What is wrong with that? But they had diarrhea.
No, but I wonder what they had.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
What?
They landed and they took him, and then the person who was on the flight described it as a mess.
Yeah. You know.
The pilots made the right decision.
Just remember this, son.
Yeah.
The woman had diarrhea all through the plane.
Here, he says, both my wife and I were on the flight. It was a mess. The pilot made the right decision to turn around. The ground crew ripped out the carpet and put new carpet in.
Wow.
Considering the circumstances, they did a great job.
Because think about it. That's the one thing that is really the worst of this. If you think about it, like they turn the plane around, they land it, and then all the passengers have to get off the plane down the aisle.
Look, it says, we did see Delta crew attendees running back and forth in protective coverings with gloves.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I wonder if they took the
And some people were trying to catch a cruise ship in Barcelona.
I wonder if they took the carpeting up before they let people deplane. Because otherwise everybody's going to be stepping
Christ, I don't know.
in like the
It
yik.
doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
He laughed harder. It's just. The spokesperson said, our teams work quickly and safely to clean the airplane and
Yeah.
to get customers to their final destination.
Did they mention a woman? Did they ever?
No, I hope that person's name doesn't get out because that's not.
I mean, they're an adult. I mean,
This is the
technically it
first
could,
time.
but it's not. It's nobody's fault. Well, it is. Why didn't she just stay in her seat? Why didn't her stuff just stay in her
I guess
seat?
it wouldn't have mattered. It would have come out her. She would
No,
have.
but it would have been what do you call it, contained in one area. It wouldn't have been diarrhea
You know
all
what?
through
I
the
think
plane.
what happens is. Oh, here's the aftermath. Okay, let's.
Well,
move
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
We gotta see. Poopy plane. It's running. When the
Yeah.
ad's done, I'll get a picture.
So the plane ended up being delayed by about 8 hours until it finally made it to Barcelona. So, and Delta said, our teams worked as quickly and safely as possible as to thoroughly clean the airplane and get our customers to their final destination. I don't know. I would have taken another plane if they brought them all the way back to Atlanta, like put that plane out of commission for a day. Or did they clean it and put everybody back on?
I would want to test it and see what was in the poopies.
Yeah. Because you have no idea. I mean, it could be E. coli or something. Where is it?
What they doing?
It's the same thing. It's just the going down the aisle showing
Oh my god.
the mats not really covering the giant poo stains.
Explosive diarrhea, someone called it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it sounded like a wind going. It's like, boom! And people are like, oh, wow, did we hit turbulence? Yes, in a manner of speaking, we did. Oh, anyway, true story from Atlanta. Mr. The diarrhea plane.
Yeah. Remember we were on the plane one time and we hit turbulence and then we smelled duty, like someone probably crapped themselves. But they did it in their pants.
that person didn't start like nothing coming back. Because that's the only way.
First class, oh, the toilet's filled. Back in the
Yeah, no, I mean, otherwise someone would just be like singing a mound of their own maybe in the seat
people
near
next
them.
to them,
Yeah. But not 5 rows later, like shit, like dumping down the
but
aisle.
to me, like, I'm gonna see what, I'm curious about this.
How? Yeah.
I'm gonna say, what sicknesses could someone's diarrhea contain?
Ooh.
According to Mayo Clinic, viruses that can cause diarrhea include Norwalk virus, also known as norovirus, enterocardinoviruses, astrovirus, cytomegalovirus, and viral hepatitis.
It's a biohazard. It really is.
Cause of acute childhood diarrhea.
They could have like irritable bowel, but like I would not go on that plane.
That is not irritable. That is
No,
enraged.
But for me, like I would not want to go back on that plane.
Well, that's why I asked. If I were Delta, I would give them a different plane.
I don't know if it was the same plane, but like.
I mean, would you go back on? I said, we cleaned it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, the thing is, like, do you know every place that poop went? And then I wouldn't want to go
in the air.
And then if I have to go to Barcelona, I have to pee in the toilet, and I wouldn't want to go pee in that toilet.
Well, wait a minute. They obviously didn't make it to the toilet.
No,
the toilet was
that's
clean.
right.
It was the only place where that toilet was the only place where didn't have diarrhea.
Oh my god.
It's like the magazines. No, the toilet's clean. The magazines, it's got shit.
Can you imagine the pilot? It's like all his friends teasing him, like, "Hey, how'd your day go?"
Oh, shitty.
Yeah, like, what'd you do? Oh, I had to turn around. I was gonna go to Barcelona.
Oh god, yeah, we're gonna do a run to Barcelona.
Oh.
Somebody got the runs to Barcelona. It's like,
Why didn't the person take Imodium?
maybe. Sometimes you don't know.
That much? You know, if you have that much in you, you know something's going
No,
down.
no, you don't.
David, you know something's going down. You
Yeah.
knew before you did your poo-poos.
That I was
felt
in
it.
pain.
You felt the gurgles, yeah.
But if I'd known what would happen,
So as soon as the person felt the pain, they should have went
gone
to the poo,
yeah. Unless it's like a Gerard Depardieu situation. Remember him?
No.
Gerard Depardieu, French actor.
Yeah.
You know, in his prime, kind of a sexy whatever,
Yeah,
big guy, but even in his prime,
he was very
a
tall.
big hulky guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Past his prime, like 300 pounds or so.
Oh, no.
So he had to pee badly in a plane.
Yeah, but pee's not the same as
It's not the same.
you know.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
he was telling and suddenly, I see him like filling up a bottle, because it was like it was stay in your seats.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, you can arrest me, but I'm telling you, I am an elephant.
I did it once. I had a pee-pee, and not in the seat, and I just ran to the bathroom because I have health issues. And the woman's like, the flight attendant was like, "You can't do it," and I said, "I have medical health issues. I have to. I can't not. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, wet
Pee in the-
myself and
yeah.
wet the seat?"
Right.
And she's like, "Go, go, go, go." You know.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not just doing it because like I want to fix my makeup. It's like.
If I don't do this right now, it's going to be
But
more
if
of a
you tell
problem.
the flight attendant I have explosive diarrhea, they're gonna let you go to the toilet.
I know, but it's sort of like, remember when we went with our friends to the klezmer concert in Central Park?
Because she ate egg. We went to Mozart Cafe, and then she has an egg thing. Like if she eats egg that's not cooked for her sufficiently, she gets vomiting, and so did you.
Yeah.
No, she had diarrhea, and you had explosive vomiting.
But
Oh God!
I want to tell you about this. We've talked about this on the show before, but
because you made us wait to see the klezmer group and get
in
the
the
autograph.
hot
Yes.
sun, I want to get their autographs on my CD of this klezmer group,
Yes.
who, by the way, did that was the theme music that Rabbi Sal uses for his show.
Yeah.
So we went there and had this nice time in Central, but it was hot. And
Very hot.
we eat, and this is the amazing thing
In
about
Central Park,
about doing a show like this, is for no particular reason.
Yeah.
We said earlier, when we first started the show, we were talking about Joyce's glasses.
Yeah.
And I said the word for that, the fact that you dropped your glasses, broke the frames, literally right outside the glass fixing place. And I said, well, that's serendipity. That is just pure serendipity.
No, we were at Mozart Cafe. Not
It
serendipity.
wasn't serendipity?
Serendipity as ice cream. We were at
Right.
Cafe
Yeah,
Mozart.
no, we went to the place with the
Cafe
giant.
Mozart. We were at Cafe Mozart.
Oh.
Because serendipity would have had ice cream for our friend.
I thought we did. We had a big block of ice cream.
No, we did not. You had
That was another time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. They had like pastry and coffee and stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
that
it
was Mozart.
It was Mozart, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was Mozart that gave us food poisoning. But no, but
No, it wasn't food poisoning. You just had a reaction because we were in the heat for 3 hours waiting for a signature from Klezmer Band.
so she was getting sick, and then, but I'm telling you, I was okay.
She knew it. She's like, we gotta get to a bathroom, and you projectile vomited.
I did.
On a first date couple.
Yeah. But a minute before I did it,
You were
I had no
fine.
idea.
Oh, really?
No.
Really?
If I had, because it was like
You were like,
we sat through the concert.
and you had chocolate milk because you're you're an adult baby. So you
I
drank.
thought it was chocolate ice cream. I thought I had
you
a giant
drank
chocolate sundae.
milk. The girl had a white dress.
Yeah.
And you spewed chocolate milk like a fountain.
Yes.
To which G looks at me and goes, "Is it blood?" I'm
Yeah, I
like,
remember
"No,
that.
G, it's chocolate milk
Yes.
because you're a grown baby." And there was a nice young couple on their first date, and they turned around. You began vomiting.
We're literally walking out of Central
They
Park.
were right in front of us, holding hands. She had a nice white dress. They were, oh, la la la. And you went.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally. But again, you would figure someone who vomits, they lean over, and they go, bleh. But me,
You were, it was vertical.
it was projectile.
It was vertical, yes.
And it went about 5 feet.
No, it went where they ran.
Yeah.
They ran. People ran. And then she's like, "Is it blood?" I'm like, "It's not
And
blood."
it's funny, it was chocolate. But the point was, 2 minutes before, I might have had a little bit of like, but I had no clue.
And then what ensued is we were on the west side and they lived on the east side and
Oh,
we're cutting through
horrible.
Central Park. And I told everybody, I worked with homeless people and they live in the porta potties in Central Park, right? It's like a little house. But our friend's like, I need to like poop, I need to poop. And she opens it and a homeless guy came out.
But did she go in and use it? No, why?
This is home. He was
All his stuff was there.
Then
Yeah.
she was running through the park.
Yeah.
Trying to
We were as soon as we got in the door, because they were living at Rockefeller University at the time.
Bathrooms everywhere.
Yeah. So she ran into one bathroom, I ran into another public bathroom, and we were both
She
like,
went into the bathroom of the daycare center. I put in
Yes.
the poor daycare kid. Daddy, it smells like caca. Right?
yeah, no, that was a day. That was a day. But yeah, no, all I was trying to say is that I just, if I had known 10 seconds earlier, I would have just leaned over or held on to something.
You wouldn't have grabbed. You wouldn't have bothered on that poor woman.
No. No, but so this idea that this person who is going to have explosive, massive diarrhea
you
knows.
knew about your diarrhea.
Well, I knew that was building. I knew that was
I
happening.
think it's
Yeah.
different.
And I had a half hour, 45 minutes
Yeah.
to suffer essentially while that was going on.
I mean,
So
if I was on that flight, I would not fly again. I would get off and get tested for whatever neurovirus.
wow.
And like you're exposed, like that
Yeah.
poop. When people, poop, it goes everywhere. Like we saw it. It went up and down.
I mean, it's a TB threat. I mean, whatever it could be.
How does it? I don't know how it comes out your pants like that.
I don't.
That's a lot.
It's just, woman could have been wearing a skirt.
I hope so for her sake.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I don't know if I hope so for anybody who had to watch that. And these pants, it's like, you smell something? Oh,
I feel bad for the emergency crew that had to take her.
Yes.
Because she's a biohazard. I mean, what happened? Or let's figure out what
Well,
happened.
remember, the cleaners had to touch it too. At least the people taking her could be like
What
gloves,
happened
whatever.
to the woman who
Yeah.
caused the diarrhea flight? What is the diarrhea plane?
Yeah, didn't list the number.
Oh,
If we
somebody
ever
saying it was horrible. They were on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, you're fine.
I don't know how it runs through. I just don't understand.
How it runs through the plane. I know, yeah.
Oh, 5 hours later, the plane left again.
Yeah, and it got to Barcelona like 8
My
hours later.
partner was on that flight. It was pretty bad. It dribbled down the aisle. It smelled horrible.
Yeah, it would. They're lucky that was all that
The flight
happened.
was met by emergency vehicles. They carried the passenger. It was cleared at 2 or 2:30.
Yeah. But you are right. I don't understand why they couldn't have figured out a way to land it in Virginia as opposed to going all the way
My wife and I
back.
were on the flight. It was a mess. The pilot made the
Yeah.
right decision. The ground crew ripped out the carpeting.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that is our
Oh my
elsewhere
God.
story for this week for
I just don't
really
understand why
times.
people make that much poop.
because they can. Because you would be amazed sometimes. Aren't you ever, come on, aren't there ever times when you've been constipated and you go to the bathroom and you're rather astonished?
Yeah, but I don't like go down the aisle of like
No.
holes and start like whipping.
But we're talking seriously
The
amount.
one time before we had the good phones with the cameras, you went to a Kohl's and you said somebody had done caca like on the wall, right? And
It
you were
was
amazed.
as if they took a paintbrush. You have no idea. It was literally like every surface, the
Yes.
wall, the
Yes.
toilet,
Yes.
the whatever. It was just splattered.
One
with,
of the cleaners, when I was at my prior
Yeah.
institution, she said that one of the faculty in a higher floor must have had irritable bowel because they did the same thing every day.
what do you mean every day?
Every day it was like that up there.
Oh, in the
And that was a medical floor where they had medical training. And she said somebody up there who, it wasn't like a student because it was every day. Students don't have class.
oh.
She knew like the schedule. It was only faculty who were there at the time. And she said the person just like must have had irritable bowel. or
Well,
something,
you know,
but-
the first time it happens, it just happens.
Yeah, it's
Second
fast.
time though, I blame the IBS person for not realizing I should get to the bathroom about a minute
or
earlier.
whatever it is, like that's like bad. I mean, I don't know if there's medication, but
Because if you have an irritable bowel, if you sit your ass down on the toilet, I don't care how irritable your bowel
No,
is,
but the
you just get a
cleaner-
little poo on the
no,
seat.
but it was the cleaner was asking if what she should do, and I said if I were you, I would definitely wear an extra layer of protective
Yeah.
stuff. You know?
Or a mask. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
pre,
yeah.
pandemic, a mask.
She had gloves and like stuff, but you know.
Because
I
I
was like-
remember the story that a former friend of mine, Scott, told me about our mutual friend, Bob Reinhold.
Oh, at NYU,
the-
right? Didn't he?
the
Right,
playwright.
School, right?
He loved movies. He would go see movies at the new school because they would have screenings and screenings for the public, and he was a member or something like that. So he would go to movie screenings at one particular time.
Yeah.
He was going to go to a movie, and it's like, oh, I don't feel so hot.
Oh no.
He gets up and he realizes, it's amazing how quickly it can go from, I think I get to an emergency, right?
That's what I'm learning from you. I'm learning this, yes.
So he,
Yeah.
so he like very quickly gets out of the screening, the theater, like I say, goes look, runs to the back, but it's like, it's unbelievably
He's
urgent.
In the bathroom, not in the
Well,
theater.
he opens the door in the bathroom and he realizes he doesn't even have the time to go into a stall.
You do have the time.
No, his pants went down. He turned around and he just explosive
What we
shit.
call it doing a coal living.
Right. Well, yeah. Which was, I mean, he did not have those
Were people
5
in the
extra
bathroom?
seconds. Well, the problem
No,
was
it was the ladies.
there was somebody, some poor man standing at the. I can't even get the words. There was a man at the urinal.
Oh God! At least he wasn't getting he got him in the back, right?
Well, he got him like on the back of the
Oh,
shoulder.
God.
And it's like that. What is it? The schlemazel thing. Like Bob is the schlemiel, but the guy at the urinal was the
That's hard.
schlemazel.
I feel bad for him because I mean, if you're in the bathroom making wee or whatever, you don't need to have somebody come
Yes,
and poop on you.
and literally just explode
That's
shit
not
in your
nice.
direction.
Yeah.
And later on, it was a rough night because Bob had then to get home, and he tried to get on the bus, and the bus driver said, "All right, then you smell that shit," and he
Of
threw him off.
course.
Yeah, well, but the man had to get home,
Get a cab.
He got right, or washing a fountain, or go to a water fountain and try and I don't know what the hell you can do.
If it were me, I would have gone to like Kmart and bought new like jogging pants and a sweatshirt.
Something. I mean, maybe that's what he
like
had to do.
Switch your clothing.
Yeah, just grab anything real quick, go into the bathroom, leave it, and have something to come
Or
home
go
with.
to a hospital, if it
Well, you still have to get to a hospital. You still have to get from where you are.
What
I mean,
about
it's
the
New
poor
York.
guy- What about the poor guy who got shit on?
Well, yeah.
And he's there in the bathroom, probably has somebody waiting.
All he can do is take his shirt off, put some, wash it, and that's, unless go home in an undershirt. I don't know what else his options were. Yeah, no, it's a bad day for everybody involved.
No, you reminded me
at the new school.
You change the clothes to work. That's a good idea.
It is.
You're right. After all these things, I'm going to bring that Imodium.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You don't like me hawking you, but I keep telling you, get a spare pair of glasses. I know it's a lot of money. Just spend the money on a spare pair of glasses because you never know.
In 2 weeks to get the thing fixed, I'll also get a.
Yeah, I am not yet. I'm thinking about getting a spare testicle. I don't know if I'll get cancer on one of them. One of them might drop off one day or leave.
That's something totally different.
If one of my testicles suddenly decides, you know what, I'm ready to retire. I've made so much pee. I made so much sperm. Let me just go. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Don't make pee.
They don't make pee.
They don't make pee.
It goes straight from the bladder through the wing.
Yeah.
So what do testicles do?
Testicles they're not involved with the urine process.
Well,
testicles make your special sauce.
Do they do anything else though? And they keep my voice like this.
Yeah, they help you dance nicely.
Not me. I don't dance nicely.
They balance you.
They balance you. Yeah.
Sort of.
So I'm, just in case, I'll get a spare
You
test.
get some what is it, nudicles?
Nudicles. Yeah. They used to put on dogs, right? Yeah. I'll get a nudicle.
We'll get you the extra large size.
Thank you.
Go ahead, honey. We gotta go through this.
Yeah, let's do one more. Really,
it's 11:17, and we gotta go to the flea market.
I know.
Let me get the address. We gotta go to the flea market.
I thought you texted it to me on my phone.
I did, but I texted you the website. But we gotta get the address.
All right. Well, then let me do 1 or 2 Greeley Times.
Or we don't have to go. I mean, it's fine with
No,
me.
we're going. I want pastries.
Okay.
Me want pastries. I don't know if they're gonna have like baby animals there, or it's not that kind of thing.
I don't know what kind of thing.
I mean, it's a church. They may just have like Christmas shit at this point already, but we'll see.
I don't know.
A caller.
I wonder if I could share directions with you.
I don't know.
Share, I can. Yeah, I'm going to share it with you.
All right.
Dun, dun,
I mean, it's literally within 2 miles. It's not a thing.
I'm sharing it with you so in your car.
Grazie. All right. 1 or 2 Greeley Times. These are calls that came into the Greeley Police Department over the past couple of weeks.
And then
things.
Then you're going to do your thing.
Then I've got to do Bunion Watch. Then we have to do
Let's
our
say
Limerick.
Bunion Watch for next week.
No, the whole point of Bunion Watch is you're watching the growth and scale and size of my
but
bunion.
It's already 11:18.
Yes, we'll be out long before noon. I promise.
Okay.
I promise. 1 or 2 Greeley crimes. Okay. A caller near 11th Avenue said.
Go ahead, you do it. I'm looking for the thing.
I know. We're gonna get just a phone call noise after all this time. Yeah. See, even that is a caller near 11th Avenue said a suspicious man wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mask was loitering around stores and carrying a baseball bat case. I mean, do they even really need to say the word suspicious?
No.
If a man is wandering around with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mask and carrying a case for a baseball bat, I think suspicious is sort of automatic. Yeah, no, right? I don't think it would be a hard case. It'd probably be just a
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
some Louisville slugger. And then a man on 28th Street reported another man walked into his apartment and started spraying chemicals without permission.
Oh, maybe they're the Delta flight.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and that happens all the time.
That's probably the exterminator for them, right?
I assume, or it was like a weird night after a gay bar or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he started spraying something on me. And then finally, a caller, this is cute. A caller on 25th Street was heard saying, quote, "Everyone calls the cops on me, so I'll call today."
Oh.
There was an argument going on with someone else in the background. So it's like, you know what, you're going to call the cops? I'll just call the cops on myself.
That's nice.
That's very sweet,
Perhaps
isn't
if
it?
the diarrhea lady did that, you know.
Yeah, well, she actually called the plops on herself. That, my friends, is Greeley Times in honor of our late friend Mike Peters here in the Daverhood.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool.
Oh, he was not.
I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
But he is getting early that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
So, ladies and gentlemen, because it's been kind of a busy week, I've not had the chance to create a theme song or an opening for this. I
Here,
should.
I'll
I
make
should.
it for you here. I got
Okay.
the theme song. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Ready? It's,
Mhm.
Okay. Whoa. Okay.
So what I was talking about last week was it was my first week back teaching at school. And I was on my feet. I mean, I'm teaching a lot of classes. And I'm not someone who just sort of sits at a desk and goes to the PowerPoint thing. I'm always moving. I'm always walking around. I got these new shoes that are just the same brand as my old shoes, but for some reason, there's one piece of them that was digging at my big toe and my foot and where my bunion is. And it opened a sore, it opened a blister. It was, it's hard enough to
It was
teach.
a bunion crisis.
And yeah, so Joyce, thank goodness, had this brilliant idea middle of the week. It's like, well, that's just going to be more and more rubbed in that shoe. It's just going to cause more and more problems. Is there something we can do to protect it besides putting a Band-Aid on it at night? Because that kind of worked, but not so much the Band-Aid during the day. Let's get corn plaster things or things that you
I
can
thought
buy.
moleskin, but
Moleskin,
then I
yeah.
never saw those bunion protectors. I think that's so clever.
So we're going to do, I showed to you because we show everything here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have our bunion watch. We did it for the first time last week. How are David's bunions this fine Saturday, September 9th? So first I'll show you what's ironic is my right foot has the bigger bunion. My right foot technically has the bigger problem, and yet no problem with the shoe. And whenever I buy shoes, there were times when I would actually buy a size 7.5 for my right foot, and then mix it with a 7 for my left foot, because my right foot is that much wider because of the bunion. But it's my left foot that's having the issue. So here is my right foot bunion. It's impressive, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Look at that. Look at that, baby. Look at that. Can you see that there? Look at the protrusion. I gotta turn it more. There we go. Look at that. That's a beautiful bunion, my friends. So it's a little red. It gets a little bit of action in the shoe. Dave's bunion, my friends. This bunion watch is brought to you by Dr. Shaw. No, so, but this was the good, but this is the foot that has had no problem. However, this foot was just absolutely making me miserable all of last week. So I have a bunion plaster on it. I'm just gonna take this down for make my life a little easier here. So let's put there you go. Look, it's still this is a week-old scab. Okay? So I'm gonna peel this bunion protector off momentarily just to share, just because this is bunion watch. Wait.
Oh, it looks better, yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. It's like, and I'm not in pain anymore.
Great.
Because this thing is protecting,
We can buy more of those if you need. We have some, right?
We still have some, yeah. I'm hoping this will go away. It's not going to last me the whole semester. But you can see just like a blister was almost forming by the time we got these and put that on there. I've still got a little scabby here, but
redress them, honey. Redress
how's that
them.
look at that? Look at it's Bunion Watch. Foot fetishists. Oh, this is a great. This is actually a great segment to show people who are foot fetishists. Joyce just dropped the drum set there.
The drum set.
But if you want to cure somebody of foot fetishism, just show them this segment.
Yeah.
Just show, there's this guy, his name is Dave. He does this idiotic podcast, and he loves to show his foot bunion on Bunion Watch. Yeah, now get sexually excited about a woman's feet. Try that now.
We just talked about diarrhea, so I mean, this is an upgrade. So.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Bunion Watch for Saturday, September 9th. We're going to try and find an opening theme for it. If I can get through the little things I got great this weekend, maybe I'll have time to make it. Anyway, what else do we have to do? Well. I mean, we've had our interview with Jimmy Tingle. That was so much fun. And Rabbi Solomon. We had Bunion Watch. We had Greeley Times. We talked about all, the passing of some people in the Daverhood.
What about your poem about Longmont?
There you go. There you go.
We have to end on a low.
We still have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. But rather quickly, let us also remind you of people who've been on this program in months and years past, our friends of the Daverhood, and let you know what they're up to. So this week in Friends of the Daverhood news, I want to send out congratulations to our actor friend, Louis J. Stadlin. He has written a memoir called Save Me a Seat, all about when he was touring with Betty Buckley in Hello, Dolly, not that many years ago. Just stories from the road, stories of what it means to be a somewhat well-known journeyman actor.
Do you want me to peel you an egg?
Oh, to eat before? No, I'm going to have pastries.
Okay, I'm going to peel an egg.
You go make an egg thing.
You sure you don't want me to bring you up an egg?
All right, bring me up an egg.
Okay.
Bring me up an egg. But anyway, you can get the book, Save Me a Seat. It's published by Bear Manor Media by Louis, Lewis, Louis J. Stadlin. And then I want to let you know that Robert Galinsky is directing a solo show by Lynn Shay called Tripping on Life, and that will be running from, it started running yesterday at Theater Row over on West 42nd Street, and it will run for a full month through October 8th. Also running through the end of October at Goodspeed Musicals in East Haddam, Connecticut, you can see the new musical, The 12, which is co-written by our friend Neil Berg, musician Neil Berg. He usually does 100 Years of Broadway. And he's collaborating with Robert Schenken, the guy who wrote the Kentucky Cycle and those terrific plays about LBJ. So it's The 12 happening at Goodspeed Musicals. Just started yesterday and is running through the end of October. Steve Kaplan is doing yet another of his intensive online comedy workshop. If Jimmy Tingle and his stories about Jackie Mason and performing in clubs and stuff and renting out theaters and doing what he does all these years later still gives you a taste for comedy, then why not, certainly writing comedy, take Steve Kaplan's intensive comedy workshop. It's 4 sessions online, and Kaplan was one of the founders of Manhattan Punchline, the off-Broadway theater that was going for like 20 years in Midtown Manhattan. Check it out. Just look for Steve Kaplan online. Want to let you know that Charles Busch's memoir, Leading Lady, Memoirs of a Most Unusual Boy, is being published on the 12th. So this week, Charles Busch, who almost died last year, I think he had open heart surgery and everything. Well, now he's gotten to publish his memoir, and people get to read about him. This is the playwright who wrote The Lady in Question, and basically carved out a niche for himself as an actor, playwright playing women's roles and stuff, Charles Busch. So if you care anything about off-Broadway, you're going to want to read this book. Running at the end of this week, Thursday and Friday, Julia Vanderveen is doing the play that she was talking about when she was on more than a year ago as part of a Fringe festival. It's the show called My Grandmother's Eye Patch. So she is doing this again, and now she's brought it to the Crane Theater in New York over on East 4th Street. It's like right near New York Theater Workshop in La Mama. It's the Crane Theater for My Grandmother's Eye Patch, Julia Vanderveen, happening only Thursday and Friday, the 14th and 15th of September. Letting you know that that closed, okay. But what has not closed is Lilias White in Hadestown at the Walter Kerr Theater, or Aladdin on Broadway, which features music by Alan Menken over at the New Amsterdam Theater. And then he also, of course, wrote the music for Little Shop of Horrors that the revival is playing at the West Side Theater off Broadway. Seth Bisson-Hirsch, he has Seth's Talent Show. It's kind of like sort of an open mic thing that he hosts many, many times. In fact, a week or two away from his 750th episode or iteration, because it's live on stage, at Don't Tell Mama of Seth's Talent Showcase. You can see it every Tuesday evening. Get your tickets at Don't Tell Mama. Marcus Goldhaber is at room 623 in Harlem. He's kind of a jazzy pop singer kind of guy over on 119th Street. And then Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano, of course, are at Birdland. Get your tickets at birdlandjazz.com. They play every Saturday night. Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks do 2 shows on Monday evenings at Birdland. And Jim Caruso's Cast Party every Monday night at Birdland, birdlandjazz.com for tickets. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com, a website all about New York nightlife, comedy, as well as theater, as well as concerts, things to do in New York. StageBuddy.com. And don't forget, Dr. Demento, still doing Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. He hasn't been on terrestrial radio in a decade, but he makes a new Dr. D show every week. It's fantastic. So get it, it's not free. You have to join or pay per episode. But you're going to want to do it, drdemento.com. I want to give a shout out to folks who, I apologize, are not on the show because I just don't have the time and the wherewithal to be doing the quizzes a lot of the times these weeks. So we don't get to see David Sheward. But you can read David Sheward in theaterlife.com, culturaldaily.com, and totaltheater.com, where he reviews theater. You can also read his blog, The David Desk, so go look for that online. And then Leslie Hoban Blake, watch her theater reviews with Charlie Gross on 2 on the Aisle. They have a YouTube channel. And our shout out to Vicky Quaddy out in Chicago, who performs in the show she co-wrote, Late Night Catechism. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Well, we're almost finished with the show, but as Joyce said, or I should say warned, we have a poem to do. Because when Joyce and I lived in Colorado, I chose to start writing, for no good reason, I never have a good reason for anything, a poem about all these different places in Colorado, big towns, big cities, small cities, just as many as I could think of, and that my rhyming dictionary would help me out with, to create grotesque, rude, brusque little 5-line poems, limericks, about all these places. So last week we did Summit, and in the past we've done places like Greeley and Vail and Evans and stuff. Now we go to, still stay in northern Colorado for Longmont, Colorado. Longmont, Colorado, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. I'll tell you a little bit about Longmont, and then we'll have our poem.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 would end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain,
So Longmont is pretty big. Longmont is like this home rule municipality. I have no idea what that ever means. But it's in Boulder and Weld counties in the northern part of the state. 100,000 people in the catchment area, if you will, of Longmont, which is 28 square miles. It was named, really, there's a mountain there, Long Peak Mountain, that you can see from Longmont. It was named not because it was such a long mountain, but the guy, the explorer who found it, was named Stephen Long, hence Long Peak Mountain and Longmont, Long Mountain. In 1871, Longmont, the town, was founded by a group of men from Chicago who came and bought up the land. And then within just a couple of years, thanks to railroads coming through, it was a thriving agricultural community. As you'll find on Wikipedia, if you look up Longmont, it has a a colorful history or an anti-colorful history, because by 1925, politically, the Ku Klux Klan had significant political power there, but that was just for a pretty short period. Colorado, on the other hand, Colorado's very first library was built in Longmont the year it was founded, in 1871. It only lasted a year, but then Andrew Carnegie actually helped build another library, and that lasted for many, many years until it was outgrown. They had too many books, and they built another library very quickly after that. In 1955, since we talked about airline explosions of one sort or another, an even worse one happened when United Airlines flight exploded just over Longmont and killed 44 people on board. I assume that's everyone. Eventually, of course, as with so much of America and Colorado, agriculture kind of waned and it became more of a techie place. People who are from Longmont or lived in Longmont significantly in their lives include comic actress Kristen Schaal. You might know her from Flight of the Conchords, or she is the voice of Louise on Bob's Burgers, and she does several voices on BoJack Horseman. And then, I mentioned there's a guy whose last name is Moron, some like business guy who comes from Longmont. But best of all, a fellow who calls himself Mr. Money Mustache is from Longmont, or chooses to live in Longmont, Colorado. He's a 48-year-old Canadian guy. And here's what he did. This is fabulous. He lived really frugally. He and his wife, they worked. They each make about $60,000, $70,000 a year, which they pooled together when they were married in their 20s, 30s, 20s really. And then while they were making that money and living very frugally, investing whatever they could, saving, investing, so that paid off their house. And then by the time he was 30, he essentially retired. And he accumulated like $600,000 from various places. And he and his wife live on $25,000 a year, essentially. He said, you don't have to have all that stuff. You can live carefully, frugally, and you don't have to kill yourself working 49, 50 weeks a year. You just get this nest and take only 4% a year and keep reinvesting the rest of it and so forth, which is amazing. He has made other money since doing other things, but he says they don't live off that. They're trying to just live off the investments and the chunk of their savings that they've got. And he even has established something called the MMM World Headquarters, Mr. Money Mustache, MMM World Headquarters in Longmont to further what he calls the Mustachian movement. This idea of making, the guy was like a millionaire, just making a couple of $100,000 that you squirreled away, and that for a while you've lived very carefully, and then you keep living carefully, but your life is your own. You're not beholden. You're not, killing yourself into your 50s and 60s just to get to Social Security so you can then retire and still worry if you can pay for anything. I hope it works out. I hope a lot of people are doing this, and then there's not something around the corner in terms of health insurance or something that kicks you in the ass for doing this wonderful thing. So Mr. Money Mustache from Longmont, Colorado. And Joyce, you've come back at just the right time, because it's time to do our Colorado Limerick of the Damned for Longmont, Colorado. I pity that schoolgirl in Longmont who lived with her brutal and strong aunt. When she'd type a paper, her auntie would rape her, then punch her for using the wrong font. Remember, you can write to me at davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby@aol.com, or post your messages to me right here on this Facebook page, which would be great, under the show, or just direct message me if you're a friend on here. I love to read everything you send in and the big thumbs up. I don't necessarily have the time to respond to everything. because also people watch the show on YouTube or they watch it on archive.org. But please, if you want to drop me a real line, know that I will read it, especially at davesgoneby@AOL.com. Don't forget that I have a Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave and the number 2. Also our Instagram page, which is david.lefkowitz, my name. And hey, that is a reminder to go to my other website, davelefkowitz.org, if you want to read stuff that I've written, theater reviews from like 25, 30 years ago, one-act plays, screenplays, full-length plays, song lyrics, interviews that I've done with various people over the years. They're, slowly, I'm archiving them as best I can just to get the stuff out there. davelefkowitz.org. And of course, davesgoneby.com for the history and archives of this program. Well, it is 20 to 12 Eastern Time here in the Daverhood. Gotta do some thank yous. Gotta thank so much to Jimmy Tingle. Remember that he is beginning a once-a-week residency now at this point. He kind of let that out of the bag right on the show. That starts on Tuesday night, September 12th, at the Broadway Comedy Club on West 53rd Street in New York. Go see him. But if you miss him this Tuesday, remember that he will be there the following Monday and a couple of Mondays after that. Go to Broadway Comedy Club for more information and for tickets. And of course, go to jimmytingle.com for more information about him, to listen and watch his podcast. And everything else, all Tingle related. Ooh, I'm all a tingle. I also want to thank so much my darling and adorable and wonderful wife, Joyce, for her musicianship, for her support during the show, for bringing me the multimedia that I needed to tell the diarrhea story properly.
Groucho Marx's home in Long Island is up for sale.
Up for how much? Probably like $3 million or something. Groucho Marx's home up for sale. What? Wow. I mean, wouldn't you? Wow. Anyway, I am figuring that we will be back in the Daverhood next Saturday. I do believe that will be the 16th of September. Wait, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, yep. Saturday, September 16th between 9 and noon or thereabouts for the 911th episode of the show. If copyright weren't an issue, I would have played the Beatles song One After 909, because that's what we've called this episode, because it's 9:10. That's the one after 909. But it'll be, oddly enough, like a couple of days after 9/11, it will be episode 911 here in the Daverhood. So until then, don't miss your Daves going by. And of course, always pay homage to Melvin G. Mintz. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dave's Gone By and Gone By.
Dave's gone by.